Here. Work session, if everybody's ready to go. I ask Chief Jenkins to give his report.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Thank you for having me. Few calls for service that we had of significance this past month. One was in the 8,000 block of Blenheim Road, where we had responded to a shots fired called mental health issues. Arrived on the scene and learned that the suspect had shot his girlfriend's car up a number of times and then fled on foot. Also, Barnett and I searched an abandoned house, couldn't locate him. A couple of Albemarle officers got on scene. I looked across the street, saw him, called to him. As we tried to approach, he walked back down towards that pond across the street where the Blue Water Tower's at. And as we were climbing up the bank, a couple of the ACPD guys said they heard a shot. We approached and he had shot himself in the mouth with a handgun. We tried CPR or first aid with him. And rescue got there and we couldn't revive him. ACPD investigator come down and helped us with the investigation. We also did a traffic stop. I think it was the next day at Mountain Vista and Valley for a wanted subject, 3 occupants in the vehicle. We were able to take one individual in the back seat into custody on an outstanding warrant.
Interrupt you just for a second. I'm so sorry. I know that's hard. That is what that's
Okay.
That whole situation that just. I'm sure, I mean, we all thank you for serving, and I just that's just a horrible thing when that happens. Just
Yeah.
is everybody okay? I mean, in terms of the law enforcement.
Yeah, everybody was fine. It's just, the person was 35, young person. But he had struggled with some mental health issues in the past, according to his mom. But I think him and his girlfriend were having some problems that day.
Well, it
and
just
tipped him over the edge.
it's horrible to happen, but I know it's also horrible to deal with it. So thank you for being there for the family and everybody.
We took the one wanted subject that was in the back seat into custody on an outstanding warrant. Had a difficult time identifying a passenger, front seat passenger of the vehicle. Got him out as we were getting them out to detain him, handcuff him. As he opened the door, there was a handgun that was discovered next to the seat and the door. Ran a check, got an ID on him finally, run a check on him. He was wanted on a bunch of felony warrants out of Buckingham County. Found that he was a convicted felon. The handgun was a 22 loaded. And we also found a half ounce of methamphetamine located in his belongings at his feet. So we charged him with 4 felony warrants, and we of course served Buckingham's warrants on him and took him to jail. We also had a DUI crash up here at Irish Road and Valley Street. Community meetings. We had our pastors meeting last week at the Scottsville United Methodist Church. Our APOs worked 40.5 hours for the town that last month. Couple of updates from the PD. We did have 4 interviews for new officer last week. Mayor Smith, Councilor Payne, Sergeant Pistolka sat on the interview panel. Want to thank you all for helping participate with that. The DCGS grant. I did submit that last week. That's been submitted. We also met with our stakeholders for the town's July 4th events. Very productive meeting. We met here. I attended a alternative transportation meeting on mental health transports. And that new policy started this past last week, I believe it was. SBP also, we had a ECO TDO meeting, quarterly meeting with UVA Police Department. That seems to be going well for
What
us.
is that? So what is that sort of notional arrangement, dialogue? What is that all about? Chief?
So the alternative transportation, some may know, some may not know, is the state had a lot of funding for Virginia to hire on private security folks to be able to do transports to mental health facilities.
Right.
Some of that funding made its way here to Albemarle and Charlottesville. So we met with the company they're based out of Strasburg, Virginia, but we met with them and they just give us an update on where they are gonna be. They're gonna have 3 teams of 2 that will be doing these transports when available. They're gonna try to do them all 24/7, but depending on demand, on whether or not they'll get them all. And the MOU on ECOs and TDOs, that worked out very well for us.
What's the acronym?
ECO is an emergency custody order.
Okay.
TDO is a temporary detention order.
Thank you.
So had
And
to
then-
take,
And so, please continue, I'm sorry.
had to take a person into custody 2 weeks ago on an ECO. And I ended up sitting with the person for probably 6 hours. County sat with him for 4 hours. And then he was a nonviolent person. So that bed opened up in their 200 wing and they put him over there and held him there for probably another day and a half before they finally transported him to Western State. So it did free us back up on the street, kept us from having to sit up there at the hospital with him. Still a long time. Our stats, you can see for the month of February. Any questions?
How was the interview process with the candidates?
So we had 4 people apply. We had actually 5 people apply. We interviewed 4. And the interview committee did recommend 1 person to move on through the background process. There were actually 2, a male and a female, that did very well, but the male was recommended highly. So the sergeant will be doing a full background, which will include personal history, polygraph, psychological and medical, and then drug testing. And then if that person gets through that process, then we'll make an offer.
And are they trained?
Not all that applied are non-certified.
Is that? What's the training look like as far as what the town can expect a
Yeah, good question.
prepared officer?
So a non-certified person has to go to the police academy for 20 weeks. They'll stay over there at the academy for 20 weeks. This individual asked about his ability to be able to drive back and forth, which is fine, but we have to pay a salary and, food while the person's over there. They come back from the academy and then they have a minimum of 240 hours of field training that they have to go through. So Alan was our only FTO at the time. So what I was able to do is get Officer Wood signed up for a FTO school, field training officer school. And he goes to that in April to get
Okay.
him certified to be able to teach a new recruit to be able to put them on the street.
And do you think it is? We haven't offered them a job yet, right?
No, background.
All right, cool. I'm spacing out here.
I would anticipate if the person gets through the background and we don't have a certified person apply or something like that, then he'll be the person
That's
that
kind
will
of what I
have to
was
send to the
leaning
academy.
towards there. Do you think the position is not competitive enough for trained officers to want to switch to, or is it a time thing? Do you think maybe there is somebody out there? Is it worth pursuing that route? I guess is what I'm asking.
We're not competitive enough with pay.
Okay,
That is when, I reached out to a number of people that I knew personally. The first thing they asked about was pay.
Mhm.
And when I told them what the pay range was, they're like, no, you don't pay enough.
Is it within,
Mhm.
is it within striking distance, or is it,
Our max salaries, we're advertising 44.5 to 47. Police departments around us are at 50 and above. Even Lake Monticello Police Department over there's certified officer over there starting over 50, close to 55. We're a little competitive with Buckingham. I had a detective from over there ask about a job, but he's got 20 years on the job and he's probably making $65,000.
Yeah.
We can't pay that, so he's not interested in the move.
So we won't have a, once, even if you hire that guy, he won't be able to work here for 5 months, right?
That's right. He'll be at the academy for 5
And we
months.
still pay him and everything like that. There's nobody that was certified to start from 2 weeks, like, you know, a lot of people give 2 weeks notice, just come here.
No,
No,
sir.
we get 5 weeks, 5 months, and then he's gotta be trained, yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
You're looking at about a 10-month process.
yeah, right, but what would it, I mean, would you look at, I mean, this, we're looking at budget and stuff like that, what would be, how, do you know how much it would take to get us up to speed with, so we can do that instead of getting somebody who's I know what it's like, because I used to hire teachers and look certified, and it's just like, you know, awful.
Mhm.
And then, until they trained for about 6 months. Is what would be the amount that we would need to get the police up to speed in this town, you know? Because it would basically, we're gonna have 2 policemen for the next 6 months, I guess, at least.
Oh, I would say for the next 12
12
months.
months, yeah, so I mean, just looking at that, what would it take to do that?
Gonna have to bring the pay if we want to be at least a little competitive for a new officer to 50 for sure.
To 50?
But that's still low. It sounds low
It's,
to me.
it's low. Albemarle starts a recruit officer, which is non-certified, at 52.
Yeah, I think we'd have
Is
to come up
the,
to 55 or
Yeah,
something.
is the job itself down here in the south of the county, like competitive at all, you know, as in like, you don't have to be in Charlottesville, is that something that people are interested in, like,
If you paid someone enough, you could hire someone.
yeah.
But I've reached out to even some of the retired guys that I know, you know, about a part-time position, do 30, 32 hours a week. Done with it. They are not gonna get back in it. They're done.
And then you talk about the problem that you hire somebody
Yeah.
at 52, and he sits there and gets his training, and then he immediately goes to someplace he gets 62.
Yeah, we were talking, and I think we discussed it a little bit at our last work session about a 3-year contract with someone. The one person that was recommended to us, he's a local guy, has family from the town. I don't envision that he would go anywhere, but he said he would sign a contract with no problem.
Okay.
The female that we hired that did very well, she told me, she said, I'll hire 10-year, I'll sign a 10-year contract. I just want to work for the town of Scottsville. Oh. One of the good things about a non-certified, you can hire them on at a little lower rate.
Mm-hmm.
Certified person's gonna cost, it's a lot of money.
But that's not, would not be our only issue. When was the last time you or your staff had raises?
Well, the officers had raises last year. The council's been very good about the last 2 years, at least since I've been here. With officer raises. I think the first year I was here, council gave the 2 officers and the hourly person a 4% raise. And then last year it was a 3% raise for all 3 of them. But for me, I haven't had
But
one
they're
since I've
not,
been here.
but they're not making what really is competitive in the marketplace either. So if we hire someone at competitive, we have to do an
We have to
adjustment
raise
all the
everybody.
way across the board.
Hmm.
And I think this is something that we seriously
I
need
agree.
to look at
I
when we come to budget discussion. Javier, excuse me. What does our maintenance person make?
45.
45. And what do our officers make?
So I brought Brad in at 44.5 when I hired him a year and a half, 2 years ago. And the last maintenance person was making more than Brad, and Alan just come up to 50 before he retired.
So this is something that cannot stand. If you look at the calls we just talked about. And that kind of pay level, that needs an adjustment. And as we go into budget session, I think we need to look seriously at the salaries of our
Well, I think that we
officers.
should also maybe take a look a little bit sooner to see if we can carve away something to get an officer in here. If we can make it competitive, it saves us
But we
that
still
amount
have
of
to,
time.
then you're just gonna have to adjust everybody though, Alex. Imagine an officer, you know, Officer Wood and a new guy's
the-
making more than he is, that would be horrible. Right? That
Yes.
would be a terrible precedent for someone who's done such a
And I
good job. for
completely
the
agree
town.
with that, but I also think that if you, I'm not gonna speak for Brad, but I think you'd probably rather have somebody. Be able to help immediately and fill the role, and then when budget season comes. We
Yeah,
try
but
to
the-
adjust further for, compensation. on
Well,
what
There's a
they're-
professional edge to the, and there's a human edge to the.
Mhm.
These
My
last two
experience
raises,
as a manager Says that is a big problem. It would
I
be for
agree.
me. Right? If somebody with lots less experience and whatnot came on and made more money than I do, I'd be like, what the?
I
what?
totally.
Even with
agree.
the promise that we're gonna look at it
Yeah,
and adjust and everything
absolutely,
else.
Mary. I'd be highly upset.
And I
So I
see-
think if we're gonna do an adjustment, we need to look across the board.
And I think, yeah, I agree with that, but I also think that we're facing a year without additional support for the two officers we still on
I
staff.
completely understand.
So
where
maybe
you're
we
coming
can-
from.
Find something here to,
Well, what's your take? Would they rather somebody come in making more money than them and have help right away?
I
Or,
can speak honestly, if I had someone brand new come in and I'd been here for almost 2 years, making more than me, I'd be pissed.
You can't do that, can you?
I would be pissed.
Well, you
Chief, what-
can, but it's not good practice.
Well, you want your policeman to be happy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not
Reason.
motivation, you know, it's not a motivation to do a good job. That's a horrible practice. Is there any way that we could take that conversation and give it to the officer already on the books and see if we can adjust the other salary too? That would be the way to do it, where you have, you bump up Officer Wood, let's say, and you sort of bump up the other one to make it at least somewhat competitive.
Question for you. There's a national shortage of police officers. This is not just our town, and we are down, is it 10% national? It's a specific, it's a lot.
Yeah, there's,
So one of the things that we have to realize as a town council is that with what's happened in the last few years, there's been a disincentive for police officers, and our town is a small town, and we're not the biggest fish in the ocean, so to speak. So what I'm saying is the market for police officers is smaller than usual, and we're not the top fish, so to speak. So Chief, I'm gonna come back to you and ask you, that thankfully you came to here. What can we do to help you in this?
Even if we increase starting pay, I mean, there's no guarantee that you're gonna get a certified officer.
Mhm.
Fortunately, we've been lucky here in the town of Scottsville to get certified folks to come down here and work. I think now with the crisis and, the shortage of police officers, I think it's gotten more difficult. And, the 2 years that I've been here, we were fairly competitive in pay, not top, but fairly. But I think other jurisdictions have realized if we don't pay them, they're not gonna stay here. They're not coming.
Right.
So they've made a true major effort to implement pay scales, hiring bonuses, if you hire on, you're certified, you get a 5,000. I think there's even UVA somebody's doing 10,000 up there. Well,
and a bonus, a sign-on bonus.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
We're
It's just
talking
a
about.
market. I mean, in a sense, as an occupation, there's just a lot less people than we need. So that's just the way economics work. It means the prices go up a lot.
Yeah.
So we're caught in a difficult position as a town because
Mm-hmm.
we need the police support at a time when there's no control that we have over this. This is way beyond us, so to speak.
well, Chief Jenkins hadn't had a raise since he's been here.
I was gonna say,
And-
he needs one.
And the raise last year and the year before, the rate of inflation was more than both of those. So, I mean, our police are actually making less than they were,
This is a
3 years
serious-
ago, if you look at it that way. So,
I
so
think,
there's nothing there's no source of grants, which is a source of, outside money.
Mhm.
Even though it's taxpayer money, it's still outside money. Um,
or a grant that you're working on, or anything you've seen that would, you know, allow us to boost the salary or give a signing bonus or raise?
Yeah, the only grants for positions are the FTO or the school resource officer grants. And they all hit last year and the year before that, and I haven't seen any this year, and certainly we don't have any schools in the town, so we wouldn't qualify. for
Right,
those.
right.
Well, we already have a budget for a salary over $50,000. Is there any way we can take that surplus and maybe do some compensation towards the officers that are here right now?
I think it's something we
Because
should.
it's already budgeted out for that salary range. So whatever that gap between the salaries are, maybe look at doing something with that to start out with.
I think if it were me, I would probably start with looking to raise the officers' salaries and give me the flexibility to be able to start someone at 50 or a little more, depending on their qualifications. That way we have that flexibility. If we can advertise that, maybe something happens. I don't think we can at least stop this process that we've already embarked on. The person's going into the background process now. Don't know how that's going to shake out or if they will.
Mhm.
We have another non-certified, but maybe if we can up the salary, the starting salary, and advertise it some more, maybe we get a certified officer. Maybe we don't. I just don't know.
Well, either way, this is a serious issue that we're all gonna need to deal with, both now and at budget time. And I will say this again, and I've been saying it since October, I think. We have a revenue problem. And we all need to be working. Revenue needs to be our top priority. It's going to hit us at some point, and if we don't deal with it, we're gonna get that far.
You know, when Alan come to the town, Alan had retired from the city of Charlottesville. Got into the VRS system, worked for a couple of agencies, come to Scottsville and stayed for 7 years. Brad, same thing. He's worked in the private industry, private business, has some other incomes of his own, him and his family do. So for Brad, it was really, I want to work for the town of Scottsville, and it wasn't a matter of money. So we were lucky in that way. Me, the same way.
Yeah.
I wanted to give back to the town. I live down here. But now with people wanting to get out of police work, you can't even bring a retiree on, part-time per se, and bring them on. They just won't do it anymore. They're done with the job.
It's hard to.
Well, maybe you could look at the money, the total money you would need to bring everything up to speed. I would be for cutting expenditures. I mean, there's a lot of things that we need, but we live without, say like some of the park stuff or whatever, and find out, and maybe we could have a special meeting about budget, especially about, police is more important than parks. to me.
Well, I had done some numbers. I'm sorry, Meredith.
No, I'm sorry, you go first.
I had done some numbers.
Oh, you did? Good.
Yeah, but I also heard, I was thinking $50,000 for a starting salary for a new person. But then I heard probably needs to be more than that. So that I think that's a decision council
right.
has to make. But I know whatever it is, whatever that starting salary for a new officer would be, Officer Woods, I would recommend at least $2,000 above whatever that starting was.
Absolutely.
Right, sure.
Absolutely.
And then I would recommend at least a $2 hourly increase for the sergeant.
Sure.
Okay, so, I mean, you're,
But can you put that together?
Yeah,
It's a
put it
good
together,
point. It's a good question that Bill asked. I
Yeah,
think
that's it.
if you could put together, let's say, what a really decent starting salary would be. And then what, the adjustment for Officer Wood would be, and the sergeant, quite frankly,
Yeah.
yourself. I'd like
Please
to
include
see that
yourself in that.
full picture of numbers.
Me too.
Because if we can carve things out, we should.
Yeah.
I know we just had a special meeting, but I think this requires. another
I
one.
agree.
I
I agree.
think we need an evening where we sit down and this is our sole topic of
Yeah.
conversation.
Budget in general.
We were talking, you know, in the past, we've had a special meeting just to talk about budget and Javier and I are working on a date for that. So it might not be this month, it might be before the end of the month, we're trying to figure out when would be a good time to have a special,
Yeah.
especially called budget discussion meeting.
Yeah, so on meeting up last week, and it's in the staff report. I'm putting it on the guys right now.
Yeah,
Chief,
we needed that yesterday.
I wanted to ask you about the meeting with UVA police.
Yes, sir.
In a past, workshop, we had discussed the fact, or what we thought was the fact that the UVA police were going to do more of the,
Watching.
babysitting at the hospital. And then recently you pulled 6 hours doing that, so they must not have made much progress.
Well, the problem is, Mr. Payne, is there's so many people in mental health crisis. They built this new wing. It was 8 beds, I believe, in this new wing, 200 nonviolent people that need, to be managed, overseen, but not necessarily have a police officer set, right? They have security folks manage them. But it's full. And they cycle them in and out as quickly as they can. It's just not enough room for all the needs for mental health. So when that room's not available, there's not a bed available, then we have to stick with them.
It's in the hallway.
It's an alternative. It's definitely hasn't, it's not the end all save all, but it does help.
Well, if you're handling a mental health incident in Scottsville.
Mhm.
And then, of course, the mental health issues in Southern Albemarle, you might be out on mutual aid.
Mhm.
I mean, our one Scottsville policeman's babysitting for 6 hours, and Albemarle County, where it was their jurisdiction, is not. Does that seem fair, or does it work its way out both ways?
Yeah, so they've helped us on them and we've helped them on
Okay,
those types of calls.
you
That,
don't keep score, in other words, yeah.
no, and you can't really. I mean, it's all about resources and the limited resources that all of our departments have.
Does Albemarle have any employees that aren't necessarily police officer, social workers, they're,
It's a great
mental health
question.
specialist.
mental health specialists who could be the ones sitting with these folks, which I think might be better for the people who are having a mental health crisis anyway, to not feel like they're in trouble and, being guarded by a police officer.
So Colonel Reeves with Albemarle, they started what's called a HEART program. And they have social services runs it. They have a social worker, they have a plainclothes police officer and fire rescue person that go out to these mental health crises. They've actually been in the town and helped me on 2 already, which has really helped save me a lot of time. Because some of these people, at least one, I was getting calls every day. And I was spending hours at a time with this person just so the officers didn't have to deal with them. So they've been implemented into that process and it's worked well.
They
It
don't have
takes me a lot of
somebody who could
time.
sit with them though.
So you're talking about an ECO, and the ECO, again, they have over at Region 10, they have another program going, but we have not been able to get included in that process. It's a work in progress,
Mhm.
but it would be nonviolent again, person where we could take them over to Region 10, do all the paperwork and drop them and leave. What my pitch to the Lieutenant Colonel up there, Terry Walls in Region 10 would be is that if we were allowed to participate in this program, that on our overlap days, when I have 2 officers working overlap schedules, I just assign one of them their work schedule up there and let them sit. So we would have skin in the game as well. So we'd be setting a couple of times a month if needed up there and giving their officers breaks. And then if we had one of these, then they would have someone sitting as
Yeah.
well. So I know there are different prongs of this process that are going. They've been working Scottsville Police Department into those processes very well. It's just slow.
Chief, I seem to recall when I did a tour of the jail that they had, and, you know, this was a while ago, but didn't they get money to actually expand? They were planning to expand their mental health section of
The jail,
county jail?
not that I know of with the jail. I know they're doing proposed renovations at the jail.
Mike Cruz online racing, say,
So again,
supervisor,
yeah,
is online racing.
okay.
I just wanted to chime in briefly on that. So the proposed jail renovation plan does it is not increasing the total number of folks who can be retained at the jail, but it is increasing the proportion of spaces that are specifically allocated for people in mental health issues, like folks who are there for a TDO or an ECO. So there is an intention at the regional jail level to expand coverage for ECOs and TDOs to kind of speak to that issue. And I'm sure I just want to really drill in at least on the county side, the main issue that we face with ECOs and TDOs is not manpower. It's not the number of officers that we have as much as it is space. Where are these people going to go? Is there state hospital beds available? Do we have space at the jail and the mental health wing? So that is, yes, we are expanding the size of the mental health wing, but it is coming frankly, at the cost of other wings because we're not increasing the total holding capacity of the jail.
Right, okay.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Not unless someone else has any questions, but I'll work on those numbers.
If you can get a number that is, whatever you find, would you mind, or would you think it'd be appropriate to reach back out to some of those people, some of those trees you shook for certified officers and say, hey, if it's in this range, would you be interested then, kind of thing, just so we're not losing the opportunity, I guess, because I don't know when,
Good to gauge into it.
I don't know when the budget discussion will happen with this, but if that would help you guys out.
I'll certainly do it.
I have a quick question. I just wonder what your plan is in the interim. I guess so at least a month. I guess there's 2 policemen now and so you use in Albemarle County, are longer hours or just shorter shifts or
So,
different shifts?
so there are 3 of us,
Oh, there are.
but the sergeant is pretty much admin for me.
Okay.
Works on all of my complaints, use of force issues,
Okay.
policies,
Okay.
this hiring process. He's doing the
Okay.
background for the
Okay.
person. Right now
So
it's,
it's still full staff.
except we're down 1 officer
Right.
authorized, but Brad and I are working patrol and, we've modified our work schedule.
Okay.
The town is being covered the way it's supposed to be covered,
Good.
but we're working on a lot more hours to
Right.
ensure that the town's being covered
Yeah.
and covered appropriately.
And as salaried employees, that doesn't mean anything.
Well, for me, that doesn't mean anything. When we were talking about salaries, we're talking about benefits too. These officers don't get paid overtime. They get,
I know.
sick leave and annual leave,
Yeah.
up to 40 hours, and then they lose it. These guys are out here working overtime and they don't get compensated.
Yeah.
And I think,
Well,
tell me if I'm speaking.
you're
out of
one
turn.
of them because your position is part-time.
But I just,
You
I
know?
think at some point, we really need to think about, we do give them take-home cars. I thought that was important as an incentive to get people here. But we ought to think about paying them overtime for holidays.
Mhm.
Rest of the town's off
Yeah,
for the holidays, but these officers are working the holidays. Do we up the annual leave maybe to 80 hours versus 40 hours? I don't know. Annual leave is, because we're a small town, we don't necessarily have to pay, a lot of those benefits that a bigger department does.
Our
but-
police officers get 1 week paid vacation.
Yeah, that's.
And when you gonna take yours this year? I
I
mean,
don't know.
let's see, looks like about 12 months down the road. From what we've been discussing.
We're fortunate to have you in that, and state community, you know, and
Well,
that's,
thank you.
they go together.
But Chief,
They get a sick leave, which you don't take back. They're on the same rate as everyone on staff, which is 8 hours a month. But vacation, and then they get flex time, but up to 40, and if you go over and if you don't use it, you start losing.
I still think 40 hours of vacation is ridiculous in this day.
I mean, that's what you get to,
You
40?
don't get flex time.
Do you get 40 hours of vacation?
No, the flex time is 40 hours, so any hour.
But I mean, flex time, I'm talking just vacation.
So we get one.
1 week a
We
year?
get 8 hours, sorry, 1 month, we get a day. So you get 12 days a year,
And our police officers,
same rate.
So you have 12 days vacation a year. Okay.
40 hours. They get a week of vacation.
Well, that's just
But that-
5 days.
that's 5 days, that's not 12 days.
Yeah, I was told 40 hours, Javier,
No, it's across the board. It's,
12.
yeah, once a month you get 8 hours.
Are you telling you guys taking 12? Then you need to,
Anyway.
You two need to talk about that, but one thing I would ask Chief, as we kind of close down this discussion is. I'd like you to put all of your thoughts down as to incentives or anything else that you would recommend, as well as the numbers
Okay.
for us, okay?
Okay.
And then Eddie, since you're the liaison for public safety, and I'd be willing to help. One of the things I think we could do is research other small towns and what their pay scales are and how they incentivize officers and things like that. Would you be willing to? You're a great research guy. so-
Yeah, well, 550 isn't a big number in Virginia when it comes to a town. And most of your communities of 550 people are handled by the county. Out of 95 counties, yeah,
I would imagine there's some other rural places in Western Virginia, and places like that that have their own police.
They usually.
yeah, they call them, they call them,
We could do the research.
yeah, I'll be glad to look.
Ones that don't have police departments rely on the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
If they don't do that, they got cousins. So,
All right, well, get
Well,
some figures together and some information that the council wants to see, and we'll get back together. Just keep me posted as to when you're ready, and then we can just include that in our special session budget talks.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Either before the end of the month or the first part of April.
Very good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I do not see a fire chief among us tonight, so we do not have a report from the fire department, but we do have the Chamber of Commerce here, Mr. Walker.
Can I just say before we start, sorry. Can we ask Chief Pursley to at least give us a report? Instead, if he's not gonna be here, it would be nice just to have a report of what's going on. Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
You wanna come over, so you have somewhere to put your notes?
No, that's around. Y'all all facing this way, kind of. I'll take it, Cody. I don't have a whole lot to report. I understand you like update on some of our events. And so I'll just start with this month events that we do plan on doing monthly. We just had our quarterly and full membership meeting here in this space. So appreciate y'all allowing us to be here. We had about 30 or so folks that showed up and asked some good questions. We kind of presented what our committees were doing, went into more detail. So that just happened. The next thing coming up, we have a happy hour conversation and cocktails, if you will, at the tavern on the 20th. And that's just being sponsored by a certain business. Each month is our goal, and they pay for the food. Everybody pays for their own drinks, but it's a time to get together and mingle. Everybody here is certainly welcome to come meet some folks. And moving on from there, the end of the month on the 26th, we have a class that one of our members, Greg Grazia, is putting on social media and your business class. How to use social media for your business. I'm told it's very, very good.
When is that?
It's on the 26th. And if you want to sign up for it, all you gotta do is email the chamber president, that's CCC president at Gmail. This is all gonna be sent to you today, so if you feel like you get something wrong, we're gonna have a newsletter coming out later this week, tomorrow, next day probably, that has more specifics, and times and all that. We have a luncheon at the tavern the next day, and that's gonna be, Javier is gonna be our special guest there, kind of giving the state of the town to chamber members and whoever else can come, but it's mainly, our chamber members, some folks from Women in Business, but it's a kind of the same group of people as far as networking goes, local folks. And then again, more meeting folks, more getting to know each other. After that, the next event is the Scottsville Literary Festival on April 20th, which also happens to be Earth Day, which I believe I'm working with Scan on some different things there as well. At their Scanland. And Amelie has quite a few things, quite a few irons in the fire, working with the library and so forth. Actually, if you allow me to back up just a little bit, we do have the open house for the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. I'm glad I can pull that one out of my memory. That's coming, I believe, this week.
Saturday, from 10 to 2.
Yep.
At the library. This is a program that is a child literacy program where it doesn't cost anything. If you have children 5 years or younger, sign them up. They're mailed an age appropriate book every month to keep.
Wow.
And it's done through the Dollywood Foundation, and there's 5 organizations in town that have chipped in and helped make it happen here.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, James River Good Works Foundation is really spearing it, and they came and gave a presentation at our last chamber meeting. And chamber signed up as a sponsor, so like Ron said, there's about 5 organizations, Lions Club, I believe, being one of them. And then yep, so then after that, Scottsville Literary Earth Day, and I believe after that is the Bateau Festival, which I think is more of a town event than a chamber event at this point, which I'm happy to talk to Javier about more what we've got going on or any needs from the chamber there where we can support. Obviously, we're happy to spread the word, send out emails, put it on the calendar, all that kind of stuff. Or volunteers, we can ask for that as well. Pollinator Day is coming up in June. Scan has stuff going on there. We have stuff going on in town proper, different classes that you can sign up for, different specialty merchandise at the shops. Maybe an extended farmers market, goes a little bit later in the day, maybe some food trucks, stuff like that. Then of course, the 4th of July, big event, we have a special holiday market, since that's not on a Saturday, we'll have basically a farmer's market with extended hours, working with Javier now to finalize some ABC stuff with wineries and potential brewery down at the pavilion as well. And that will go more into the evening, and then that's really all we have planned for the 4th. And then from there on, it's not a whole lot going on other than our monthly meetings till we get to the end of the year annual meeting in October, beginning of October into September, and then the Scottsville happenings and holiday happenings in December. So we got a lot going, a lot of irons in the fire, kind of working on our membership right now. I think Javier got a call the other day. So yeah, we're chugging along. I think 18 members signed up last, new members, not new members, either re-signing up or re-signing up, or new members signed up last month. Very much. So we're making progress.
Any questions for Jay?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if you're involved with it, but is the Scottsville monthly gonna go start up again?
The Scottsville Monthly is having trouble securing enough funds to keep putting out a printable version. That is still the hope. Greg's not giving up on that yet. But he's moving to an online version. I believe for this month.
The other question, so, one of the business owners asked, is there a way the business could be encouraged, especially restaurants, be encouraged to be open during events and find out which ones are, because I think from what I understand is we make more money from businesses than we do from food trucks. And it might be good to support our local businesses rather than have food trucks, and I don't know if that's how that's coordinated, but maybe just looking at that a little bit.
I think the food trucks are more for the pavilion area
Yeah,
and
right,
for where things are
Right.
going on down there.
right, I understand that.
Yeah. And I guess on the, as far as like big holiday, like 4th of July, I'm assuming
Right.
folks close down and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good point. We can look into it historically. I know
I mean, it might be both for the July.
yeah, that's, you know, it's not much of a, and people always ask why should we stay open? And,
Yeah,
you
right.
know, a lot of times on the 4th, we get said, we get our businesses used for bathrooms more than anything.
Yeah,
And then,
right.
more than we get business from it, and then, we also get the, you know, we wanna be able to enjoy the holidays too, going back, so
That's good.
100, so we have, the bigger one would be like, we run into that a lot, or the one that I've really inquired or put any time into that question is, Halloween. And, get a lot of pushback from you. I would see that as an opportunity, not exactly sure what the solution is. I would basically get.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to ask, is there anything that you think the town can do for you? I mean, I so appreciate you coming, and I love the energy and everything that's
I'd say right now, we're working with, Javier has been, more involved with the chamber than what I've experienced the town being involved in the past, so I greatly appreciate that. And I think that's moving us in the right direction right now. I think we have, more synergy between the town, chamber and SCAN. I know that's Javier's goal, I know that's my goal, we've spoken to that, quite a bit, and so, I think we're making progress. Not gonna be a light switch type of change, but, we'll get there.
thank you.
Before you leave, how about introducing your two associates?
Yeah, I can get up here and talk all, y'all want me to, but, Kathy, our vice president here, and Andrea, is, on the board as well, and, without them two, yeah, we'd be in a lot of trouble. So.
I want to thank him for helping me out with that, so. In case you don't figure out for the town administrator report.
Make a good team, Harvey.
Thank you.
So, thanks so much.
Glad to hear.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
What is the status with the farmer's market? Is there been any change there?
No.
It opens in April.
You change your what?
Manager?
No.
So,
Okay,
same as last year, we're taking in applications, submissions.
Alright.
So we should be on track.
April, when's it open? April what?
April 6th, right?
Well,
Yeah.
that's the.
And the Saturday before that's gonna be a big yard sale event like we had last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
When did we learn about this? Is it on the calendar yet?
No.
No, that's-
It's like 2 weeks away.
Yes.
ARB, Mr. Bissett, anything?
I was not able to attend Thursday. Javier, would you like to?
Yeah, so for ARB. We had 3 different. Pieces of new business, well, 4. We had a COA for 415 Harrison Street, so they had worked on their siding of their home and repainted it. So that was approved by ARB. Then we had 2 sign permits. Tiger Fuel had a few contractors working on all the signage there. So they collaborated together and got all the signage on site in compliance with our guidelines. So for example, that I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but the monument sign that was approved more than a year ago stayed the same, but they just did some signage they have on the main building, Tiger Wash, and on the canopy. Turned out tasteful, I'll say, not too much for such a large building. And then we had 635 Valley Street, which is Tenacity Tattoo, which was just trying to come into compliance on their signage. So they took out the old barefoot and then put a sign up on their door for their business. And then our last item for the day, or for the architectural review board, was a discussion between ARB and EPC liaison Eileen Morris about their work on E9 signs. So we were looking for some input on possible implementation of this in the historic district or the entrance board.
So we're looking for three things: the placement of the sign, talking to first responders. Consistency is really important. The look and feel, the color and the placement, especially on historic properties. And what was the other thing? Color.
Yes.
The ones we have now are blue with white reflective numbering on them. That's probably not the best color scheme for historic properties. So I presented a number of options. Well, thanks, Colin. Well, I presented a table of options on what different styles and colors and things like that might look like. And said that there's no urgency for this. Grant award for E911, thank you, is in June. So we have some time to get input from the ARB on how we put these signs up for historic properties.
So the grant will pay for all these signs?
For the ones that do not currently have
Oh,
them,
okay.
yes, it's a capital
Oh,
request.
okay.
We probably have, I don't know, maybe half the properties. Maybe
Uh,
not even,
Not sure.
pardon, a third.
1/3.
And so,
Might be wrong.
but there won't be any cost to the town.
No.
Good.
So we're hoping that we can get volunteers. We've already had a few people volunteer to put the signs up for people. Some homeowners may want to put the signs up for themselves. And so the grant is purely a capital request.
Now, I know we're looking for a grant, but does the community know that we're pursuing not only the grant, but, our consistency and being ready for emergencies? So it's okay for us to talk, but we don't get any feedback if they don't know about it.
Well, should we hold a community meeting?
Now, put it on the website.
So we're sending
Yeah,
mailers
yeah.
out too. I don't know, Javier, what's the status with the mailers? It should be this month. Are they completed and printed or are they still in design phase?
I haven't completed it in envelopes.
Oh, yeah.
Need bags.
Okay. We
It
could send
strikes
it.
me that briefing that I gave to ARB would be a good briefing to send out if we're doing town mailers and include it in there with the
If
inventory
they're sealed already.
as a heads up.
No,
Unless they're sealed already.
They might be, I can't remember.
but yes, if we're sending something out to every resident for ARB, it might be something to add on to their.
Yeah,
This
some
might be a
feedback on.
chance. That's it.
all right, let's check on that. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Javier?
Well, I have a question for, maybe Holly or Alex. Just around signs, I've seen, I was going by the shopping center the other day, and of course, even in town, they have these fluorescent lights or LED lights, really bright. At that bait place.
We've
Now, is
actually
that-
told
is
them to
that-
take, or
is
that's part of
that-
their.
So that's being looked at, right?
Tobacco shop.
Because it's huge. I mean, that's
Lights.
and we have this night sky thing and that thing
Mhm.
stands
I
out.
think that was a contingency we told them,
Okay,
Yeah.
and their approval was to take those down,
okay.
so.
Follow up.
And then, like, say that there's one now at the Exxon too. Do they know, about that one? I don't know, I don't know if are they allowed to have those kind of signs that are lit up like that?
You're permitted a total amount depending on your
Oh,
building frontage.
the signs,
Yeah.
the
So you
lighting?
have to do this now. Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
If they stayed under, then they'd be within.
oh,
Mhm.
I have to-
The tip-
yes, we do.
Yeah, we have a simple one.
But it's simple, very simple, yeah, we probably need to upgrade that with things, and we're gonna talk about that again.
But yes, as soon as we were doing their main sign, that was one of the things we put in there was,
Yeah,
let's take that down.
yeah. Okay.
By when? Because they still haven't taken it.
Yeah, there wasn't a timeline on it, so I'm assuming it'll just be a reminder to get them to take it down.
Okay, any questions? Planning Commission, Mr. Briscoe.
Mr. Mayor, I will say, first, there was a lot of interest in the planning commission, as I explained. the police grants. They wanted to know about what we were doing about that, which is great. Their interest was also a lot of interest in yours through the safety committee, wanted to know about what you were doing. They were supportive of that also, and we talked about both of them at kind of at length. There was also interest in what we're doing just in general in terms of understanding the council, trying to be good and giving them a feel. Most of the meeting itself was devoted to the comprehensive plan. Go figure. But we spent a long time reviewing both the many edits that we have. And one of the things I do think we're going to want to think more about as the council is this new provision in the comprehensive plan where it basically has a call to action in it, where the financial side of it is. Lincoln says that's new. Do you happen to know, Javier, where that comes from or not?
Yeah, there's discussions in the code about starting to consider capital improvement projects, but the nuance is that we wouldn't want to throw that in a comprehensive plan, just for the difficulty of it. So you would want to reference out to that. And then I think some of it is connecting more of what we've been doing here and there, which is annually looking over a capital improvement plan, but starting to connect it to those objectives that are in a comprehensive plan or an annual budget. People look year out of year, but starting to think a little bit 5 years ahead would be prudent for a town council.
But is there no mention of capital improvement recommendations in the comprehensive plan itself?
In the past, there wasn't. This is a new
Right,
thing.
there's a new thing,
This is a
right?
new
But do we have something like that?
Yes.
that you're including?
Yeah, that's happening. And that's actually kind of what I'm saying. That's a significant thing for us to think about as the council. So when we do it, I think we're going to have an interesting debate as we talk about it. So what Lincoln has tried to do is to try to stratify all the information, piece together what he's heard, what we've heard through all the meetings. And then as we as a council look at it, you might say it's a way in the past that we probably haven't activated a plan before. In the past, it's just been a piece of paper, you know, you got a big document sitting there, it's great. But this is a little different, this aspect of it. So when we do that, I'm sure we'll have some vigorous debate
So the
about it.
council will come up with a capital plan.
Well, the capital plan, he will create something for us to look at, and then we'll debate it, you know, we'll have, because all this is our final. We are the-
Drafted.
Yeah, we'll be the final say.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll go to the planning commission, then it'll come to us, but it is an important thing, and I'm more just saying again, as we do this, we haven't done this before. So it'll be a good conversation. The other thing I would say, Mr. Bowling, that you're here, I don't see this on the agenda, and maybe I'm out of place in saying this, but last town council meeting, we deferred one of the issues to when you were here. I don't see that on here.
Right.
That's one of the
They
things.
actually talk about it.
Okay,
Yeah, that'd
so
be good, yeah.
so you can talk about it during your time on here. Okay, and I mentioned it because we talked about it also in the planning commission, the point of the code related to emergency
Rescue squad.
stuff,
And,
yeah. So anyways, okay, we'll deal with that in your session then.
Dan, when's the comprehensive plan gonna be available for us?
Yeah.
It sounds like, tell me if I'm wrong, Javier, in terms of how I understand it. I think we're talking, is it April? But he's kind of targeting March, April.
Yeah, so we shared all the edits we have, so we cleared those. We were discussing that, and then we're trying to spend every week with planning commission going over pieces of it and getting some kind of firmed up approval or oversight of that plan. So you put a timetable in, calendar at the end for hopefully April.
So we're looking at hopefully April, and gotta be submitted to Richmond when?
Is there a deadline?
I don't know that there is a deadline. It's just
It's
every,
every 5 years.
yeah, that's right.
The deadline.
But we're in the
Yeah.
you might say we're in the, at least at the end of the third quarter, maybe starting of the fourth quarter, and that's the football game that's moving for maybe even midway through the fourth quarter.
Do
of
you
the
know how
football
long?
games. Is it, did he say,
Oh, yeah.
Javier, is it like 80 pages? Is that right?
Yes. So we hopefully,
Okay.
this last one is 70.
Counselor Heisen was asking the
Yeah, I
length.
know, they're long.
So we're gonna hopefully try to be paid.
You know, it'd be nice if there's a section that's done or two, you know, just send that at a time and just look at the final later. But know if we can do that, but, so we get in section pieces, you know.
Planning commission had a whole folder with these items. So I'll just forward it to you.
Yeah, I think anybody can see whatever, if you wanna just ask for whatever updates, you wanna see what's happening.
How did you do that?
I think Javier has it.
Oh,
I
okay.
think Javier,
It's not
like,
online, so. they can
no,
Send it.
yeah, I think they can,
Okay.
you can
It's
see
not
it.
on the share drive.
Javier, one last question, so again, I think it's fine, for town councilors to see whatever stage you wanna see, just how would they see it?
Share out that OneDrive folder, you guys.
Okay.
So let me mess around with that and maybe I can send it now.
You have fun messing.
Okay, any questions for planning? Mr. Hyacinth, Government Services.
Okay, well, I sent the minutes, but I'll just go real quickly. We had 10 applicants. We interviewed for the maintenance person, and what really came out, it's a really highly desirable job. And there's some really good people out there. It was really hard to choose who to have. So if he didn't work out, we got some 2 or 3 other lined up that really are capable and skilled and want to work. It's a good job. So we're still working on the website, and Stats is looking at what we can do to enhance it, and maybe even get something in the budget that we need to try to get it up to speed with zooming and, you know, list of questions and scroll and a few other things. And then we looked at the budget, the financial issues, and I guess we're on, he'll help with that, but the government service could help with the budget there. We'll be keeping up with that. And then, you know, that we came up with a list of some areas that need improvement. One of the big one, I think, is having a town map, especially at you know, and we got some quotes on the town map, a new town map, especially the one at the Canal Basin Square. But there's many other enhancements that I sent out that we came up with too.
Councilor Hudson, something really quick. Was it, I think it was I think Lincoln mentioned this too, that the county is looking at updating something, and there were we were doing something together. What was that, Javier? Lincoln mentioned this in the meeting because Councilor Heisen was talking about the town map. And he was mentioning something with the county and Google and those things.
Yeah, we have to clear up some discrepancies in GIS. We talked about counties and they're working on it. And it's more just it being GIS being a diagram, just getting those corrected. So for example, some zoning from Louisiana shows up on their GIS within town limits.
Yeah.
That just needs to get cleared up.
Yeah.
And then other stuff is working on making sure that we have a correct area buffer recommendation in our comp plan. So we reached out to Louisiana and having all of that discussions with them.
What about the plots in GIS? Is that the town's responsibility or the individual homeowners?
That's some agents they use for real estate to get all the base from my understanding, they told me it was something that the state level, something with real estate, they send the file to them, they upload it. So automatically we get that, automatically gets updated onto the county's channel.
For plats? I thought that was.
Like, if you look at GIS and look at my house,
Right.
it's on 2 different, like, the way the plots are broken down and then where the houses are, like, my house is on 2 different plots, it's
Right.
not, but like. GIS is not,
It's
Right.
not correct.
it's
I
not,
had
it's
to
not a
correct
great
mine
website.
Where they showed my driveway connecting to another street.
Yeah.
And it's a private driveway, it's my yard, right?
Yeah.
I don't want people driving through there, so, they
So it
don't
is
really
up to the
get around.
homeowners to,
Yeah, I mean, sometimes but you called, county, they have a GIS person, at least when I made changes to mine.
okay,
And they will correct it, but they go back to the original plat for the, that's been recorded with the, records office. And then they'll make sure,
And that's the flaw of GIS, that it was originally based on tax maps,
right?
which are not official. What is official, which is what you just said, the deeds and the plats of record in the clerk's office. So they have to dot things and and it's slowly getting a lot better, it just shows a lot of parcels. And a lot of things change.
And it is a hassle if you go to sell, that's not right.
Oh, no, I mean, it doesn't matter. when you sell something, with all due respect, it's going to be based on your title search and what the records that are recorded show, not what GIS.
But I've had properties, especially in rural areas, where what was listed didn't match what was recorded. They had to go through a whole survey process again
Yeah.
and whatnot. So it took months. It was a nightmare.
Oh, yeah, it can be a problem.
So, yeah,
Well, just the maps I was talking about, the government certificate, it's the map outside and the one at Canal Basin Square, not GIS maps. They were just physical maps that.
No,
need to
that's
be
great.
displayed. The one at Canal Basin Square especially needed replacement. You can't even see it.
Any more government services stuff?
When do we expect our new maintenance to start?
Well, our Javier and I talked earlier today, and hopefully next Monday, he's been by to get started on what he needs to know. What he has to do, particulars and keys and all that stuff, so. Hopefully next Monday morning, he will show up and be ready to work.
And I meant to ask Alec if I could just double back, or maybe even Javier, is Tiger Fuel still, their goal still this coming Sunday? Or
Here now, I just let them know out.
I missed,
this is their opening. Is that-
I'm arranging their grand opening with their marketing manager for May the 17th, Friday at noon. They may have a soft opening, before that, but the official grand opening with all the bells and whistles is scheduled for noon. Yeah, that's something that the chamber's trying to do. Also, the Mexican restaurant should be online shortly and have a ribbon cutting for them.
We have giant signs.
but
Get the mayor some giant.
Yeah.
Budget.
yes, sometimes, along the same lines you were talking about, you see a grand opening after they've been open 2 months.
Mhm.
So I want to know when I can eat a taco and pump gas.
Yeah.
And I'd love seeing you there 2 months later too,
Yeah, and they're, it looks like they're, still installing the gas pumps, but they haven't put the innards in the automatic car washes.
Yeah,
So that's gotta happen, I'm sure. But they are hiring people. One of our lady we know at Food Line, she says, well, won't be here much longer. And then, why are you leaving? Yeah, I'm going to work for Tiger Fuel. So
Yeah.
they're trying to hire jobs.
Good, that's good.
Good.
Can I ask something about Tiger Fuel? Maybe Javier, they were supposed to put a sidewalk in from the structural steel all the way down that road. I don't think they've done that yet. Is that still in the plan? And then they're also supposed to put a mulch trail in. And I
Yeah.
don't think they've done that either. So, I mean, is that on the back burner or is that scrapped? Maybe check the plat and see if they're following through on that, unless that was changed. That's what I remember. Because they were supposed to, they took away the sidewalk. They were supposed to have a sidewalk all the way down Route 20. And we got rid of that, but they were gonna put one in front at least.
Yeah.
So people walking can go there. So, I don't know, just something to think about. The trail and the
So-
sidewalk.
Supposed to be like an asphalt sidewalk from the west side of their entrance, almost down to structural steel.
Yeah, I remember that on the final side.
Yeah, I think so.
And then the other was, like you said, a mulch trail down behind the building down to Route 6. Kind of splitting the back half of the property in half. So that's what we talked about when they agreed to that, I believe. Anything else right now? Nope.
I have a couple questions. Is that
Okay, sure. I'm sorry. Questions for Mr. Hudson?
So Bill, I have a question on the email that you put out on 3/1.
On what?
On March 1st. You sent it to Ron about, how does it say? On the ag grant and unpaid bills.
Yeah.
I had some questions for clarification. So first of all, I have to say, I think it's great that you put it out to everybody and, you're transparent about that. But in the last paragraph, it did say, that GSC oversees public safety and serves to some degree as unofficial budget and financial
Yeah, it's really
oversight.
good.
Well, I thought we agreed to move public safety to EPC because it was
No.
better alignment and Eddie was participating in EPC.
I don't
No.
think we ever agreed to
We never-
discussion,
no.
but
I
I
think
mean-
mainly because of the budget, it was never done, keep up with the budget parts. Yeah.
I'm on the EPC committee. And I left the Government Services Committee without a resignation, by the way. Or in front of me, but anyway,
You're,
But you're still on the website.
you're on sabbatical.
yeah, I kind of feel like I'm unofficial committee of one when it comes to the police department, because how many times have I seen you today? Twice?
Yeah.
Once yesterday, on and on.
Yeah.
For various sundry things. So, I don't know how you work that.
I'm sure either.
I'll just, if y'all got a question about the police and he's not
Yeah,
here,
you-
I'll just pipe up. I'll know. So,
We also talked about Meredith being going back to another thing, being the events
Mhm.
coordinator, and I don't think we ever voted on that, taking Alex off that. And I think that would be a good, do you still want to do that? Be the
Yeah, I
events?
thought,
I thought
did we not
voted
vote on that?
We never voted on
No, we
it.
didn't, we just
But I think,
discussed it.
I
I
think,
remember we discussed it and we had a dialogue.
but I think that would be good, so every meeting, she could give a report on the events of what's going on, because we don't know anything about the events, and she could be at least the, I don't know, the liaison or the committee as needed for that. I think that'd be great.
Okay,
Cause give us an update on the book thing or I think there's, I don't know if it's an event, but there's a cleanup. That's
Yeah,
kind of an
March.
event, it'd be good to know about how the town's involved with that and
Okay.
just to have one person being that person, I think is really helpful.
so if,
So maybe we could vote on that next week.
yeah, if we
Got that,
could put that on the agenda for
Alex?
next week,
Alex, you
just
okay
the vote.
with the events committee and Meredith taking over?
Yeah, I think we decided that last week. Yeah.
I think we did.
I believe we did, but. let's-
We didn't.
It never been officially voted on, no.
Okay.
We were supposed to do that last meeting.
Okay,
And we
Maybe
did.
that's on the agenda. I'll tell him about it.
yeah, Javier, I think we need to put that on the agenda then.
Each week,
Vote on that, because I feel like we voted
no.
to officially put you on ARB also.
We did the committee charters, right?
Yeah, but that wasn't on that.
We had a discussion about the events.
No,
You
we
were
never-
sitting right here.
I
Well,
remember.
here
Yeah.
we decided.
I got-
And then the
Okay.
next council meeting, there was another.
Well, Javier will
discussion
know,
about
and next
memory.
week we can
Yeah,
either
that was
vote on
like-
it or
We'll do it next week.
strike it out.
We'll do it next, yeah.
And, I just want to make a point about budget and financial oversight. So your comment was that GSC has an unofficial role there.
Yeah.
I thought we agreed, and I remember Meredith saying very specifically that that's the role of the council, that we didn't need.
The
committees,
finance,
things like
finance
that.
committee.
It is, but it needs support from outside, and really studying, like.
Because that's
like
not in the
Scottsville.
charter for,
It's part of part of that is government services listed as that, yeah.
I don't think that's in the charter, Bill.
I'll look at it. Do you have a charter there? Was it?
Not online.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, no,
I
it's
think
it's
we-
only recommendations coming from the committee level anyway.
yeah, it's just like, yeah, it's.
It's still up to us to.
No, that I
decide.
understand.
Yeah, I
but
know
thought-
you do.
I thought Meredith, and I agreed that that wasn't necessarily needed because this group was responsible for financial oversight.
Yeah, I agree. We specifically said we did not want them doing that. So we specifically don't have the government services committee
Let's-
making financial recommendation.
Right.
I mean, they can certainly have an opinion, but that's not what we're looking to.
This group says, hey, we need somebody to do some research, asking government services is appropriate. But to have that as part of the charter and just their sort of what you do, I thought we agreed that that was not.
We did.
And it's just like the police department too, government services. It is a good part of our government service is our police department. And if there's discussions as far as, something that committee thinks they can work with the police department and money is involved, there's no harm, of course, in bringing it, to the table here. On the other side with the, emergency preparedness committee. The police are certainly a part of that, but, where do you put them,
It was a recommendation to have a financial committee, but I don't think we've ever
Yeah,
established.
we never did.
But that's because we decided.
Yeah, we
that
decided that we
needed
did not
that
want.
That was the role of the town council, and that the town council should take a very strong position. I just want to make sure I'm clear on what everybody's responsibility and what protocol is. And I have another question about that when we get to Parks and Rec, just about protocol. It applies to EPC as much as any of the committees. I just want to make sure that I'm clear.
Yeah, I don't have a charter from me, but on that committee.
Can you look it up?
You, like for Bill to go ahead with Parks? and
Yes,
Rec?
please.
Well, we didn't meet.
Yeah. why
We
don't you
didn't
do
meet,
that?
but just to let you know, we do, the map is about finished. And the rules are about finished, but we haven't figured out how we're gonna, you know, get them printed and put up yet and all that. But we're gonna meet later, but we didn't meet this time, but so we'll, there's no really news to report about the parks committee yet.
Other than we did get a new volunteer, Mr. Clemens. Mr. Clemens was concerned about the park being open and available to handicapped people at certain times of the day, since he's a handicapped fisherman. And he lives nearby, and he volunteered to take custody of a key at any time that we can't get up there to unlock or lock up. He will be glad to run over and unlock or lock up, whichever
That's good.
needs may be. Yeah. Somebody has a concern about something, put them to work. All right, now we'll go to emergency.
So I have a couple of questions, Mr. Mayor, I'm so sorry. On the town map, can we see what that looks like?
Well, it's not done yet, but we got the draft. I thought I showed you the last time. Yeah, I
Did
did.
we see?
I passed it around. Yeah, but about, I don't have a.
You had
printed
like a
copy.
draft of it, but
Yeah,
haven't,
yeah.
your email suggested that you were getting ready to purchase something.
Oh, no, that was, the purchase was for the one that Javier is working on, the one that's for the one that,
So.
that's a different one. That's a different map. We get all these maps confused.
So there's the map that Parks and Rec's working on, which is like a one-page map that's in draft form,
Yeah.
I've seen it. Bill got quotes on a map that is, it's the same one that's right out front of Victory Hall.
Right.
And then you can't tell, but there's one on Canal Basin also. So that was a previous contract.
That-
Am I right, Bill?
Yeah, that's the map I was talking about.
And that's the one that's quoted out.
Is it the same map?
No, totally different.
Totally.
So can we get a vision of what that looks like?
I don't know. Well,
So here's the
which
question.
map are you talking about? Which one?
Well, the one that's gonna cost almost $1,200.
That's the one, we don't have, that's identical to the one we had in front of the, but it would have to be adjusted, so it's gonna cost a little more.
So here's my question, Jim, and this is not just for Parks and Rec, but it's for everything. The last meeting or the meeting before, we had talked about appropriations,
Right,
right? And we had talked about what was budgeted versus what was spent. And you wanted to specifically have a broader discussion on appropriations, right?
yes. Yes.
But yet, I see this email saying, I want to just move ahead with a $1,200 spend without any context and nothing coming to this group. So I was confused a little bit.
Yeah.
And just as a matter of protocol, how do we do this? I mean, it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that all of our committees, all the recommendations come back through this group.
Yeah.
Is that everybody's assumption?
Yeah.
Right,
That's
so.
the way it should.
Right, so I wouldn't authorize Javier
Oh,
to any spend before it was
Oh, it wasn't
talked
authorized at
about.
all. It wasn't authorized at all, no.
It sounded like it.
No, it's not. I wanted him to take over on that. I got that quote from the person who did the map last time,
Okay,
and it's just exploratory phase.
okay, so we need 2 of those maps, is that what you're suggesting?
Well, I think they're gonna be different. I think they're gonna be different. The one out front is outdated, and the one that's out at Canal Basin Square, I think will be the same.
Okay,
Is the one in Canal Basin Square actually damaged or is the plexiglass fogged on it?
It's damaged.
Okay.
So have we
Okay.
talked to Kristen? Because if you remember, Cub Creek Creative submitted a whole proposal and ideas and everything.
Park map. That's for the park map.
Okay.
That's a different map. I'll send the draft of the map that I have
that would be.
of the park.
Okay,
Now, he has, I don't know what he has or not, but with this west.
so the other one is a town. map,
Yeah,
right?
that's
One's
from-
a park, one's a
Right,
town,
and the one
correct?
that she's looking at is from a company in Oilville. It's called Westview Companies. And that they did the last map and they just gave a quote of what it would be to replace it. So Javier's taking over that, but I'll send you and I'll send everybody the map of the park map. It's really nice.
So what,
Really nice.
what Javier is getting for us though,
Well, he's not
on the
getting, yeah,
town map,
he's gonna look at that, yeah.
but on the town map, he will bring us a proposal that this
Yes.
council then
Yes.
votes on for expenditures.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
We're all on the same.
All right, we got that. So there's two different maps.
Thank you for
But I'll send the
clarifying
map to everybody. It still needs a little bit, but I think it's really, really nice.
Okay, now, and I didn't understand the nuance between the town map
Yeah.
and the park
yeah.
map, so I was confused.
And then actually, there's two town maps. Now, just to kind of, if you want to go over the one out in front has like some of the old businesses, like,
I see. That needs
farm-
updating.
yeah, like Chester and some of the others. And so that needs to be updated. That might cost a little bit more if we want to do that.
Okay, all right, thanks, no, I appreciate that, and I'm sorry to the.
No, I'll send that. map.
While we're talking about maps, pretty fast, is Supervisor Pruitt still in earshot?
Yes.
Okay, so he can hear me. Supervisor Pruitt, this is Eddie Payne. Two maps I would just had a question about was one, the map of the parks, the trails in Albemarle County. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the trails in Scottsville, which is part of Albemarle County, were completely left out. And this was a big to-do a couple of months ago to get that map out, to all the people that enjoy the trails.
Interesting.
Am I wrong there or?
I'd have to know where in particular you're referring to these maps not being, right? Are we talking about on
Albemarle County website?
I can look into getting those included on the Albemarle County website under our park section.
Will it make the map?
It's not only the website, it's also they produce maps.
Yeah.
Right, they put them on, they distribute them, don't
Yeah.
they, as part of,
Yeah, they distribute it, but then you go online, print them and so forth.
Right.
But I don't think the county, the map of the lake is on that as a resource shown on the county's part of the recreation site.
it's not.
Yeah, but it's not under the auspices of Albemarle County, but it is a county trail.
It's a trail in the county, it's not a trail owned by, it's not a park run by the.
Right. So I kind of felt left that there. And then the second map, and I'm beating the dead horse here. Second map was the one I noticed on the Albemarle County website back a few months ago, where there was a map of the street cleanup around the urban ring and then a 19-mile dotted area and then another ring around Crozet. Like to, and I'm not being funny, it's just the way I talk, Mike, but I'd like to put in a reservation at least one time close to July the 4th to bring that Albemarle County paid for street cleaner down here prior to the biggest event in the town and probably the county. And so I'm glad you're here tonight.
Councilor Payne, I think that's a abundantly reasonable request, and I'll see what we can do to get the street sweeper down there in advance of the July 4th festivities.
I do appreciate it.
And I do want to say I appreciate the point you were making previously, and of course the distinction, right? There are things that the county owns, and the things that the town of Scottsville owns, and parks. We each have our own bags with that. But for public-facing material, I agree. It's probably appropriate that we include everything that the town of Scottsville maintains because we want to get people down there.
Well, we've got more Coke cans on the side of the road than we do school children. So, that's where the real estate tax goes. So that's the point I'm trying to make. Tax money is tax money. You can't devote a machine to an urban area when you've got the only town in Albemarle County right here.
I completely take your point. So I'll see what we can do on that.
Okay, appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Just the grant is in. I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, Chief Jenkins, Chief Persley, and Eddie for writing letters of support I think if we get this grant, it's probably largely gonna be due to the letters that are received. Award is in June. You heard about the, ARB and 911, the big ops plan meeting, so the, a number of players, both county and town met. And Eddie, maybe you want to give a little bit of brief on what's going on because you were at the meeting,
Alrighty,
the big.
yeah. We had, and excuse me with the names, but we had, the emergency, preparedness manager, that may not be his title, and for the life of me, I can't remember. And was it John? Okay, thank you. And, the lady's name, I don't remember either. She was his, I guess, second in command. So excuse me with the names, but, we went over, the status of the county preparedness, because the whole idea for the meeting was, if Scottsville wasn't included in Albemarle County's, emergency response plans to different types of disasters and emergencies, we wanted to know where we could plug ourselves in. And, it was a pretty long meeting and good discussions. I wish everybody could have been there. But basically, when it comes to, disasters, like floods, and a credit to our fire department when fires, a levee breach, with our levee committee. I was really impressed that everybody was on the same page. So I don't think there's any concern for the level, of preparedness. You never know when a disaster is going to hit. So I think, just by virtue of the fact that everyone knew exactly what everyone was talking about, it was a productive meeting, and, we'll be having more. As far as specifics, it was more or less a roundtable discussion. We didn't have any big bullet points. So.
We had a good, big group. We had the fire chief, the assistant fire chief, we had Tim Carr, we had our chief, Eddie, myself, Jack was here, two folks from Albemarle, Emergency Center. And it seems like it was one other person, but of course Javier was here and he brought the bagels.
Yeah.
So, anyhow,
Well, hopefully next time I'll be able to get.
so anything else?
Just that I'm looking at drafting an ordinance that would mandate E911 signs that I'll bring to you all probably next, not voting session, but next working session. Ready Scottsville continues to be successful as the outreach arm, for a lot of preparedness type of information. And then I'm starting to work on use cases. We said that we would not edit, but review the ops plan once it came out. And I'm working on use cases to sort of test the breadth and depth of the claim. And that's it.
Good. Any questions for emergency preparedness?
Just curious about the signs. Is part of the grant, installation of these signs?
No, that's dependent on.
Who's gonna do
volunteers.
that? Oh, volunteers will do
Yeah.
that, because there are gonna be a lot of people who aren't gonna be able to do that. There's a lot of elderly people
Right,
here.
and we've had a few people already said they'd be willing to pitch
Okay.
in.
Item number 2.
Moving right along.
Yeah,
Yeah, finally.
if Supervisor Pruitt is still with us, how about, we'll give him a few minutes if he'd like to pass on anything from the county before we continue.
Oh goodness, I did not have my my notes in front of me, so I apologize. Let me run real quick to where I've got something. The main thing I want to just highlight is we're going to have a series of budget town halls coming up here shortly. The one that is going to be closest to Scottsville is one that's being led by Supervisor Andrews and myself, and that's going to be at Yancey. And that is going to be on the 28th at, I believe, 6:30. This is an opportunity for folks to hear that in broad strokes, granted, just because of time limits, but about what we're trying to accomplish with this year's budget, where we stand with it, and what sort of main priorities we're going to be hitting on. I also recognize that, not everyone wants to drive out to Yancey. So I do not have just the staff support to be able to do an additional town hall. But what I can do is following the first round of them, I can come to the next public town hall public town of Scottsville meeting to provide any additional updates from what we went over in the town halls that we're going to be doing.
Could you possibly Zoom it?
That's an interesting question. I'll check in with staff to see if that can be made electronic for folks.
Yeah, I was looking at the website, county website about these town halls, and it shows you having one on the 21st at Martha Jefferson High, a hospital conference room. Is that not on anymore?
No, that one is also on. So what they did is they basically took existing community advisory commissions that were already set up. So the one for Fifth and Avon CAC and the one for the Pantops area CAC were converted into town halls. We don't have a CAC representing further down in the rural area. So using, existing major county buildings and resources, Supervisor Andrews and myself wanted to do one at the Yancey Community Center. And that was something he took the lead on planning. And I was told that we just typically do not have the resources to support an additional one in addition to Yancey in the town of Scottsville. So I'm hoping to be able to replicate it to the best I can once I've kind of seen the script that staff gives at one of your meetings, if that would be appropriate.
Okay, well, that answers that question. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything further, or is there any questions from council members or our supervisor?
Thank you for attending this. We love hearing from you.
Yeah, thank you. for
Appreciate
being
it,
with
Mike.
us.
Yeah, I apologize. I wasn't able to join y'all in person today. That had been my intention, but we didn't get out until 6:30 of a previous meeting of the board, and I then had to go walk my dog. Hence why I'm on my phone.
Excuse.
All right, thank you for joining us anyhow. Mayor's report is fairly simple. Attended the Chamber of Commerce Board meeting last week. As I mentioned, I've been working with the marketing director at Tiger Fuel. They're opening. As the chief mentioned, Eddie and I were on the interview panel for the candidates for the vacant position. I did talk with the Piedmont Housing Alliance, Celeste Brown, who I had talked to a couple of years ago when we had the flooding problem over there. They have instituted a new policy for their residents that they should pay their rent online. And you probably know as well as I do that a lot of the folks at our apartments over here neither have a computer
Right.
or they don't have bank accounts. They go to the post office, they buy a money order, and they mail in their bill. So we had a nice chat, and she assured me they have put in some new procedures so that people can still pay their rental bill with somebody at the facility over here. So see how that goes, and I'll check with I know a lot of people over there, and I'll check with my main contact this next coming few days to see if they have actually implemented the alternate program. And then, as I mentioned, I've been distributing flyers and speaking to the literacy program for children next Saturday at the library. So that's my report. Mr. Bowling, you're next up. Floor is yours.
Well, I want to talk about two things. First, I may be able to save you a little money, depending upon what council wants to do. I'll talk about how you advertise ordinances. Towns are different than counties. Counties are required, if you want to adopt an ordinance, you have to advertise once a week for 2 successive weeks in a newspaper having a general circulation in the county. Towns are like municipalities, and there's no general advertising requirements for towns. Now, there are specific requirements. For zoning matters, the town is just like counties and cities. You have to advertise once a week for 2 successive weeks generally, and then there's some more specific requirements. And then here and there in the code for a a bunch of things, you have advertising requirements for such things as adopting a budget and raising your taxes, so forth and so on. But for towns, your advertising requirements are set forth in the town code, section 2-66. And it basically says that for general ordinances, you post the advertisement in a place where you do your posting, wherever that is, town hall, and before, and then and in some other place if you want to, and then you post afterwards what happened. And then it says, carefully written for a clause of the statute, which you have to look at to understand completely. It says that if council directs, you can advertise once a week for 2 successive weeks. And but that clause is placed such that the implication is that you advertise after the council's already taken action, which doesn't make any sense. And it says that if council wants to advertise once a week for 2 successive weeks, it directs that that be done. And I think that what's happened ever since I've been here, council has had a rule of thumb, and I've been told this over the years, that council wants to advertise ordinances once a week for 2 successive weeks. But I also suspect that that was decided long before I arrived on the scene. Who knows? And don't come to your regular meetings, but I suspect that, for example, if you eventually pass an amendment to the E911 ordinance, that council probably will not direct how it's advertised at your public meeting. Rather, as a matter of course, it's advertised once a week for 2 successive weeks. Well, you might want to take a look at that, because what's happened is that as newspapers have they've ceased to be the principal method of communication in localities. And second, they increased their legal advertising costs enormously. So the result of that is that the town, again, don't hold me for the numbers, that you maybe budget $6,000 plus a year for legal advertising. You attempt to recoup some of that through advertising for zoning, special use permits and whatever, by requiring the applicant to pay a fee, which now covers some of that cost. But there's no recouping for such things as the E911 amendment, or a lot of the little ordinances that you do, or big ordinances that you do that are not zoning or specifically required under the state code. So you could save yourself some money, and not a huge amount of money, but thousands of dollars potentially by, for example, changing how your requirements so that you decide you want to advertise general ordinances only one time, 10 days before the matter is heard, or whenever you decide you want it heard, instead of automatically having once a week for 2 successive weeks. It now appears to be the practice, and is the practice in the town of Scottsville. And so that's not nickels and dimes, it's maybe a couple thousand, 3,000 a year, it adds up.
So you're saying we don't have to advertise in the newspaper? Is that right?
No, I'm saying that for a lot of matters, you don't have to advertise in the newspaper.
So we could post it below, and we could post it on the website, and that would suffice.
That would suffice. Now,
Wow,
you might not be satisfied with that, because people might not be happy with you.
Nobody reads the newspaper anyway.
Well, they don't, and that's the other point. I mean, that's the other rub of the whole thing, is that you've got a mechanism that everybody used to publish in one newspaper that used to advertise, be published 7 days a week, and everybody subscribed to it. And now I suspect that very few people subscribe to it for print, and that digital is also.
Like, just a question for you. I'm sorry to interrupt you there. One of the things that's common in the age we live in are, I don't know if I'd say they're apps, or they're certainly ways that you can sign up and be notified of something. If you choose to do this app or this whatever, you can be notified. And would it work if we, as a town, let's just say we converted to, there's a couple ways you can, sign up for this. So we do the method, we post, but it is true, newspapers have died. They're not what they were. It's long, that's a thing of the past. And the thing that you make a good point on is in the newer era, what's a way that we can get effective information to people? And I do know that's, you see it all the time on if you have various apps or various things, the update or the whatever it is. Is that okay with that? Could that work? Something?
Well, you're already required by the FOIA to advertise your meetings. Post notice of your meetings, and also you're required to post your agenda. And you're required to also, as you're talking about, send out to anybody who asks a copy of the agenda before it occurs and the agenda packet before it occurs. And you should be posting your agenda packet online. So you're doing that. So, but all this is up to council, and my point being is you should direct, if I were you, if you want my 2 cents worth, I would ask Javier to come back to you with his recommendation after he's looked at it, and then decide what you want to do. If anything, you can keep the practice right now, which is once a week for 2 successive weeks for everything, or you can go to one time 10 days before or 7 days before for everything, or you can say, no, we don't want to advertise in the newspaper anymore, except when we're strictly legally required to do so, such as
Another thing, Mr. Bowling, just to follow up, it's if you're putting a news story out, you would do something like a press release. So for example, we have the Chamber of Commerce, maybe there's, I don't know, 10 different news sources in our area. They might be like the chamber. We say, if you're on this list, whatever that notice goes to them, and they're one of the people, and so we create a web of information that, the Scottsville, the monthly, if it comes back, or what Nancy's doing, or we have a web of information. And I do like the thought, I say this as town councilors to follow up as a council. I think I would very much suggest that we think the 2 things. One is, what's a more robust way to get the word out? Because no matter what we do, people don't know. We could scream from this building, walk through the whole town, people still don't know, some people. But so I think that's one thing we should do, is think of the best way to get the message out. Second of all, I think what you're saying is, what do we specifically want to do on this issue? And maybe we go to 1, or we go to a week before, or we have this web of information that's out there so that people know.
And be careful about designating sources, because there's also a theory of law which says that if you direct in your ordinances that such and such a source be advertised in it, and you mess up and don't do it for one of the 15 sources you list for whatever reason, there's a million different reasons, then you go ahead and you enact something, and then 3 years later, somebody looks into it and says, well, you didn't advertise in this path, and that makes it void. So you have to be careful with what you do.
What does that look like as a council? As far as, is this something that has to be voted on, or is this just a policy change between us and Javier?
Well, I would, as I said, if you wanted to look into it, I would direct Javier to come back to you with a recommendation, and then do with it what you want to, if anything.
You're saying, although it's in the code at the moment. It's in the code of the town at the moment. So if we go to change the code, that's a vote of the
Well,
council.
I've changed the code anyhow, because it's written very poorly. Because it implies that you're advertising after the event occurred, which is crazy. Doesn't make sense. So, been interpreted before, and you're just advertising everything once a week for 2 successive weeks, and it's got to be expensive. And when I sit here, I'm hearing that $1,000 here and there and everywhere is important to you. So you have to look at these things.
The money's important, but it also is a good reminder that
you're not getting what you think you're getting for it now.
Well, the ancient ways, there's new ways to get information out to people, and we need to take. That's one of the things Eileen did when she came in, is recognize the updates with our town website. But there's many things we can do to improve information.
Well, anyhow, this is. He can come back. Javier can come back to you with his recommendation, and you can at least look at it, and you might be able to save a couple bucks.
Sounds good, yeah. That'd be
Okay,
great.
you're gonna
Thanks.
take that action?
That'd be great, thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, okay, great, that's perfect.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Mr. Bowman.
And then the second thing is that I got a notice or an email from Javier this afternoon. We talked about it this morning though, and I'll tell you what he told me. He said over the phone last month, town council did not vote on the text amendment for foreign rescue squad zoning in chapter 11 commercial district. You all now know that by right, foreign rescue is by right, and also foreign rescue requires a special use permit. That's what you call a contradiction.
Right, so we need to take
A
care
conflict. You need to fix it one way or the other, or get rid of it entirely, but I would, it's proposed you choose one or the other, and then they could not, you could not, I was told you could not decide between by right or special use permit. The planning commission and the county administrator recommended special use permit, and so you asked me to give you some advice on that. If I've got what you've asked me to do correct so far. So my thoughts are this, first of all, I mean, understand that we're not really, it's not very likely that you're gonna have an application for a fire station or a rescue squad building in the commercial district of downtown Scottsville in the near future. But assuming if it happens, then if it does happen, you're as likely to have that happen by a non-locality as you are a locality. I mean, when you mention those things, you assume it's going to be some governmental or local entity, but it can also be a nonprofit or a for-profit entity. And if it can be either a nonprofit or a for-profit, from what I know about rescue squad buildings and fire stations, not having lived next to one of them, but just general knowledge. And I've heard some information about what it's like to live next to one of them. From a very reliable source, I would that you may want to consider having that be for by special use permit, because there can be things that you may want to regulate, such as constant announcements over the speaker for county-wide events that have no effect on Scottsville throughout the 24 hours a day. But more particularly, you may want to have some control over that section that other than saying by right. So that's what I wanted to point out to you. And again, this is not very likely to happen. If somebody ever came before you, they wanted to have a public use designation, there'd be lots of thought and so forth. But since you've got it before you, you may want to consider going with what the town administrators recommended, just to give you the most control of the situation as you could. And it's not too far-fetched that you could get a private rescue service or something like that serving areas toward Buckingham, whatever, take to UVA and so forth. So you never know. So that's my thoughts.
So we'll vote on that next week.
Mr. Bowling, I want to say to all the other town councils, you may remember, so I was suggesting we hold until you were here. Anybody else have any questions for him, just on this, because we held it till we had your brilliant advice, your good advice.
No, I don't know about brilliant. It's 2 cents.
Sage, we'll say sage.
So what was it? The other one was a dry cleaner? Is that what the other one?
Pardon me?
The other one was dry cleaner?
Yeah.
Well, we
So
did
that
those
one's
already.
no big deal.
We did those already.
We did that one?
Yeah, we did the other ones we did.
Oh,
This is
we
the
just
only
did
one we
this.
deferred.
Yeah, dry cleaners used to be a very big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, reason for that is they used to deal with some very bad things, but chemical wise, but they've been, I guess they've been regulated. I don't know.
OSHA,
Yeah.
if nothing else.
Let me ask you a question, and I fully understand Eileen's point about an ordinance for 911 signs, but we have an ordinance that says a building shall have the street number on it visible from the road. Can you actually pass an ordinance that says, hey, you like a planned development community, you have to have this particular mailbox, you have to have this particular sign in front of it?
Yeah, I think you can. That's what the county does. I mean, there's a public safety and factor behind it. It's pretty important that when somebody calls up and says, hey, somebody's having a heart attack, can you get here in 10 seconds? And then you can't find the place. That's the whole idea of this. And also you have the locality spending millions and millions and millions of dollars to provide quick response for everybody. Everybody wants to be within, what's the magic time? 10 minutes of a You know this better than I do, Mr. Payne. How quickly are you supposed to get to the hospital or you're out of luck?
Well, if you have a heart attack and cardiac arrest and your brain is deprived of oxygen, you've got about 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
And even with CPR, you're only delivering 11% oxygen, so.
But people like them to get as quick as they can if it's happening to you.
Well, if you can get the EMTs there, right, they
Yeah.
can sometimes intervene.
Anyhow, to answer your question, this is an off the cuff answer, okay? And I'll hedge my bets on the off the cuff answer sometime, but.
I mean, I've lived in a planned community where you had to have a certain type of.
Yeah, now the E911 requirements have been codified, and that's where you pass.
Okay, I'm just wondering.
And I think you bring up a really good point, Mr. Mayor, is that we have new developments going in. And that's why I want this ordinance on the books, so that it's relevant for all new building that happens as well. And the ordinance specifically says new and existing properties. So that the developer then is responsible for labeling those homes with E911 signs. And the town doesn't have to incur the cost of them.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Town administrator / treasurer, you want to give 2 reports?
Yeah, so I wrote up something quickly on this 2-page, the town administrator addendum.
Are we supposed to read it right now?
I sent it back. All right, I included it in the packet, I didn't get it out. So first of all, I just want to report out, we already mentioned it, so I'll try to go as quickly as possible because we hired a new maintenance technician that we can already talk about, Jim. He was our first choice out of candidates, and we plan to have him, I put 2 weeks, but middle of March, but hopefully the 18th. Our selection process involved first having a meeting with the Government Services Committee to talk about process. And then I received 24 applications for the position. So at that real point, it was an appealing position. Beyond remuneration, also people everybody expressed they were interested in working in the town. Less of a commute, et cetera, et cetera. Beyond that, I filtered the applicants down to 12 qualified candidates. Of those 12, 10 answered, and everybody attended a in-person interview last week. We ranked the applicants after the interview, and we came out with a selection process that I was very happy with. I want to thank on the record George Goodwin, Matt Holt, Phil Hyken, and special thanks to Kevin Quick, who couldn't attend the interview but provided support for the selection process. So I think it was a good process. Yes, excellent. It was a long one, so I really want to thank them for their time. I always get paid for it, but thank you guys.
Yeah, it's long, some days.
Beyond that, I just want to point out that worked on Sam Bakula, we had an issue with renewing one of our numbers, and I was able to get that out of so it wasn't a hurdle for you applying for that grant we discussed last month.
So that's all resolved, the Sam's number at this point.
You got it, grant's been sent.
Beyond that, Bill, our Councilor Hudson sent out an email requesting some updates on events. James did me a favor and reviewed some of them, so I'll hop into the ones that are more weren't covered or involve the town administrator a little bit more. Scottsville cleanup, which you see the flyers around, is March 23rd from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So the organizers have been in contact with me. I provided them some additional vests and grabbers, and I'll give them some additional trash bags. All that's left over from previous 4th of July cleanups, and it's all in the back. I want to thank them also for keeping Scottsville clean.
Yeah.
I know it's a priority for us. Scottsville Literary Festival, April 20th. Steady progress. I know the event organizers have been working with a lot of community members, stakeholders, Meredith, of course, at the table, Stan, the chamber, the audience, Boys and Girls Club, the library, and more. They're having their next organizational meeting this Thursday, which is the 14th over at Scottsville Library. Town staffs worked with them on some requests that I had to help assistance with. So we had a meeting with Albemarle Parks and Recs Department and Boys and Girls Club. And we got approved for 2 locations for free libraries on both sides. Beyond that, I contacted our local food truck and they're more than willing to participate the day of. And then I quoted 2 banners, single-sided 48 by 69 inches that are within the budget. It's $230. We haven't bought anything, but I want to go out and get close to be prudent about it. Beyond that, I suggest either reaching out to the event organizer or attending the next organizational meeting. Since this has been a community-led effort, I've just been kind of chipping in here and there on things that I don't have a full scale. Meredith.
We'll have on Monday, better scope.
And then Meredith's been able to take some more of those meetings that I've been.
Are the events gonna be advertised on the website?
If I'm sharing material.
And I spoke to a friend of mine who does like I don't know if graphic design is the right word to like come up with posters and stuff, but she has volunteered for free her efforts to design large posters, because I don't think people really read flyers, 8.5 by 11 flyers in windows, multicolored, great big posters, and we're gonna advertise it on the website, but we're also gonna put it up in all of the libraries in Albemarle and Fluvanna and Buckingham, all of the schools in Albemarle, Fluvanna and Buckingham, places that schools and libraries and, places like that where, people are already interested in books and reading and stuff like that to get them in, so yeah, it's gonna be well advertised.
Anything else, Mr. Cal?
Sorry, Javi, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no worries, I got more, sorry. Been talking with Will Smith of the James River Bateau Company, so I connected him with the chain for the same reason. He has a lot of connections with, Scottsville, everybody kind of knows each other. And asked for a little bit of advice about this year's Bateau Festival. So I'll keep in touch with him since he's a good contact with a lot of family members involved. The Bateau Festival in that whole space. Similar to previous years, I plan to have to put up a banner with our new maintenance staff. James River Bateau Company is willing to donate a new banner to us because ours is getting a little bit weathered. Beyond that, I'll hire 2 acoustic bands as we've done in previous years under Canal Basin to kind of get something going. And then I'm working on an outdoor refreshment area for the day, but I still need to reach out to local businesses and see who's willing to participate. Beyond that, we brainstormed a few ideas, and it's reaching out to the Scottsville Museum to see if anybody would be willing to present on the levee system. That's an exhibit under the Canal Basin Square. DWR also has resources around the rivers and watershed, so sometimes they are willing to have staff members come down and present like that. And then I've been trying to get in touch with Bill Trout, who often is providing information during Canal Basin and follows them around. So I'm trying to get a little bit of stuff going on during the afternoon, based on the advice that I've gotten from people who are part of the Bateau Festival. I can't control the rate, but we can still be doing this, these tasks, so fingers crossed. Beyond that, into 4th of July, town staff had a meeting in early February to discuss organizing for this year. So we left with a to-do list, and since last year, we've been thinking of ways to improve the day. And then we discussed it previously, Greg hosted a roundtable with local first responder organizations to kind of touch upon those aspects and keep them in the loop and informed, and actually to kind of improve all the work they do on their side for the event. Beyond that, I've been working with the Chamber of Commerce that's been helping me out with the change in the outdoor refreshment area. We'll pull back that outdoor refreshment area and then make a space under the pavilion. I think we haven't had as much success as I thought in previous years with the Dora, which is that outdoor refreshment area. So they've been helping me out with finding vendors, and then Melanie, of course, is taking on responsibilities I had last year with food vendors. So we'll work on some ideas we have for cooling station and kid events. Beyond that, I'd like to loop in our new events coordinator a little bit, just to keep them abreast.
I think
I'll-
like bi-monthly meetings, like twice a month for an hour.
Yeah.
Would be beneficial.
I think so. We're overdue for the last one. We set up one, so I'll CC you on the next one, maybe
Okay,
later this month. Would probably be the most feasible, especially when I have a new staff member, I can get them. Looped in. Beyond that, treasurer's report, I just wanted to sit down with you guys and Melanie and discuss some permanent budget questions we have about this fiscal year. And then present an update on cash flow, accounts payable, receivable, and then an update on our business license return. So I guess we could jump into that.
Yeah, before you do that, two things.
Mhm.
And it might be my hearing, did you say your number 2 here says I plan to get 2 small acoustic local bands? I heard I plan to hire 2,
Yeah,
hire,
yes,
as in money.
yes.
that's how we do it every year. We've always,
Yeah. This is a different year. We've got police to pay.
Yeah.
all right, well, that's why we need to have a special meeting. I mean, the
Yeah.
money is already allocated
We do,
for
we
it,
do.
so.
Well, I'll tell you, Meredith, I mean, musicians ain't rich, so there's not a lot of money, I know, but what would you pay? $300 a pop?
Forget how much we paid last year.
They're affordable, this group.
Well, no, that's a lawless answer. He doesn't live too far away. I'd like to know how much you're gonna pay him. Even if it's allocated, we don't have to use it.
Yeah, that's true.
A piece?
Yeah.
Per person,
No, for 2 groups.
2 groups for 150.
Each one.
So $300.
Oh, that's 3, so that's what I'm saying. You said hire, I want to hear $300.
Not a thing source.
No, it's not. Okay.
We've been working on.
Secondly, town administrator, you and I had a conversation about the ponies down here, the horses.
Oh, yeah.
Anything to share with anybody? Or-
Yes, I already talked with Ron last week. Tim told me just don't do anything that was damaged. So we discussed using
We're gonna get a quality gallon of masonry paint.
That's what we talked about.
New
Yeah.
brush, give it to the new guy and say, go paint it.
Well, that makes sense to me, but
Might want more than a
Don't
gallon
need
for
to do
that.
anything more expensive than a $28 gallon of paint.
Let's pour it.
yeah, I understand that, Ron, but someone brought up, because you and I were in agreement, but someone said, well, it might be some federal specs. So, and
It's waterproof. It protects the inside. That's why it's called masonry paint.
Okay.
It protects what's behind it, so I can't think of anything better to use on that.
Well, it's good to just get their
Yeah.
way in to make sure we're doing the right.
well, I hadn't heard anything, that's why.
Yeah, we just talked about it the other day when he finally, landed on a #1 candidate for the job.
Okay.
So that would be a good job for him to start with.
Okay. All right, thank y'all.
Yeah.
Melanie?
Better than the fact.
It's just the levy, we don't need that.
We're starting, we've got most of our business licenses in. We had budgeted 92,000 that was to come in, and we're already at 85. And there's still about 30 more licenses to come in. Couple of them are fairly large. So once we get those all in and get everything tidied up, then we'll send out the notice and also late letters. We are gonna try to get a hold of Tiger Fuel, not try, we are gonna get a hold of Tiger Fuel. Because something we didn't think about was they need a business license, because they're doing all that construction out there. They should have to pay taxes or a business license on that. I did get all of the monies from County of Albemarle. They are paid up, they are up to date, it was about $21,000 that we got. They did send me an extra check for December that I'm not sure what it is, and I'm not gonna cash it until Troy answers me back.
If you cash the check, it doesn't prejudice you, still getting more.
Yeah, but my luck, I'll cash it and they'll say, no, you gotta send it back, so.
We have had that problem before. so
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Here's tell you that.
I have one more bill on your cruiser, the cruiser to pay, and that is Brooks. They're telling me I owe one amount, we're saying we owe another amount, but I know I pay their amount, which is a whole lot less than what I think I owe. I know they're gonna come back to me. You know, you have that cheap person sitting over here going, no, maybe $300. And on this side, the accountant's going, you know, it's,
Sound right.
that don't sound right. So as soon as I can get a hold of the manager there, we'll get that bill paid.
And then we're square with everybody? at
I
that
think you're
point?
talking about the Motorola,
The Motorola, the-
body worn camera and in-car
Yes.
camera.
Okay, but that doesn't cover all the other ones that are
Everything
outstanding.
is
Everything
done,
else is
everything's paid,
Everything is paid.
everything is paid with that bill.
What was our total deposit amount last week?
104,000, about almost 105,000. So as of this morning, our balance was 127,000 in the bank. But of course,
We have stuff.
there's stuff that's not clear. That's about, we're figuring we have probably about $8,000 to collect on business licenses yet.
Yeah, so those are small ones, those are freaking flyers, but I've already worked with Melanie to start reaching out to them, so I'll stop by and reach out to them. But those very major big ones all came.
Yeah.
That's good news.
Yeah, especially the biggest one we had an issue. with.
The only one that we're not budgeted for that we didn't even think about putting in there was Martin Corn.
So we'll reach out to them as a contractor. See if we can also do that and, and we'll report on if we're able to exceed our expectations.
Okay, good.
Okay, questions for either one of the treasurer or council?
Good night, chief.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Jack.
The thing I do want to say is, and Chief, before you leave,
Yes, ma'am.
maybe you wanna know this too. Once I'm working on financial statements, I've got pretty much everything wrapped up. For the next couple of days, I already have our financials done. I wanna sit down, have I don't know if you wanna call it a meeting. Or call it whatever, one-on-one, if y'all want to, I'll make a presentation up. So we can go down through and then you can understand exactly what the budget is, exactly what we have and what the difference.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Thanks for everything, though.
I will try.
If anything, at least have that for the meeting, our budget
Special.
meeting, the special meeting.
Yeah, that would be helpful. No,
All right, town administrator, you want to lead us into our new topic?
Yes, so I have some members from various organizations, but I think they've reached out to me separately over email and shared with town council. A proposal and proclamation for dark skies. I shared the original text I got sent us and then also a text I edited with the help of Dan. But I thought maybe we take the opportunity, because you guys have been waiting really patiently, just to introduce yourselves and maybe discuss a little bit about light pollution and your interest.
that'd be great.
Well, thank you guys for having us. It's really kind of fun to see Town of Scottsville doing their work and this business, and hats off to all of you. And I'd love to, there was some discussion of light pollution already, right, in the signage. And so Carol and I live, my name is Christine Putnam, this is Carol Carter. And the two of us live in southern Albemarle County, and Gareth Hunt lives in Freedan County, not too far away. And so we part of just a group called Piedmont Dark Skies, and just concerned about the proliferation of light pollution. And we know that it's becoming more and more of an issue, especially with the advent of LED lighting and the impact it has not only on human health, but also on wildlife. And not only our health, but also it really changes the rural quality of a beautiful town like Scottsville and Albemarle. So if you look at some of the lighting maps, you can see that light pollution is actually increasing by about 10% per year, which is really astounding. And southern Albemarle is one of the few places where the sky is still relatively dark. And as you know, we're in pretty close proximity to James River State Park, which is a dark sky international park. And so we came to the county of Albemarle with this idea of having a proclamation for 1 week. It's the International Dark Sky Week that's from April 2nd to the 8th. And part of this proclamation is just to raise awareness about light pollution and how we need to really work to preserve our dark skies, not only for our health, but also so that you and I and future generations can enjoy the night sky and the stars that have been, not forget that we are sitting in this universe. And so we sent you sort of a draft proclamation. Also in that I just want to recognize Javier was really great about responding to me. I'd sent him a letter about what I thought might be a violation of your lighting ordinance. Is it okay if I say the over there? There's a shopping center over there. So really appreciate he was very quick to respond to me. And just as we drove through Scottsville, I often come to Scottsville. The wonderful lighting that you have on downtown, it's just appropriate. It's dark sky compliant. And so recognizing that already Scottsville is doing the right thing here, and hope that you will take interest in the proclamation and consider signing on to it.
And I just want to chip in that the General Assembly unanimously approved a dark sky proclamation in this past session. And so that we fully anticipate that the governor's going to sign it because the initiated one has 2 years. So if they could unanimously do it in this political climate, I think Scottsville can do it. We fully anticipate that because Supervisor Stewart is bringing it to the Board of Supervisors in Albemarle. Greene County's got one underway. And
City of Charlottesville.
the city of Charlottesville as well, and they have a much. They're like it's a bigger.
It's gonna be a lot harder for them
And you don't have to change your lighting. The proclamation is really to bring it to people's attention, and it's an International Dark Sky Week falls right in a peak bird migration. It's good for pollinators. It's really good for human health. We all need to sleep a little more. It's a sleep disruption is a major memory and health concern. And Gareth is also an astronomer, so
Yeah, and my involvement with Scottsville, I know Javier because I pick up the key every week during the summer to do water measurements here in Scottsville. So, and plus I'm part of the SCAN project. Have people doing the
so at
surveys.
any rate, we hope you'll support this.
Thank you.
I'm sure we will.
So what do we have to do? Just put it on the agenda to vote next week?
Well, actually, once we're done with them, I would like to have a conversation as a council. So once you guys are finished.
Okay,
That's anything else you want to say?
no, unless you have any questions for us. No,
No, thank you.
okay, all right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
So Javier, can you put that graph up I asked you to put up? The one with the different skies.
Yeah, so I'll put it up, I printed it out also. so
Okay.
It's in your packet.
So first of all, I want to say I appreciate them coming and, the one thing I would say, so. The last couple of years, I've actually become a bit of a stargazer myself, so I appreciate the issue. It's actually a fairly complicated issue. I mean, it's actually the issue of what to do about it is not easy. I think we should do, so I worked with Javier, created a much shorter version of a dark sky proposal. That's what you'll see here. But Javier, can you put it up there?
Yeah.
So what I was going to show you is when you talk about dark skies, if you're in a large city like Washington, DC or somewhere, pretty much you can't see the stars, so to speak, and they're just enormous amounts of light. If you're in Arizona or West Virginia or places where there is just not much civilization, so to speak, it's, you might say, the highest level of ability to see, and the natural light is the best because you see the stars and you have a chance to do that. And what they're saying here in Scottsville, the best I would say, as I stargaze a lot, is I don't know if we're in the 3 or the 2 range, so to speak. Like we're in a much better place here. You can see stars, the stars in the sky. Generally, the stars we can see with our human eyes are in 6 different magnitudes. And so in those different magnitudes, what the light that we see matters, because if it's more and more light, you lose a 6th magnitude or 5th magnitude or 4th magnitude star. And in this area here, on our, in the middle of the night, 2 or 3 in the morning, when most lights are off, you can typically see a 6th magnitude star. So if you look at this chart right here, what it's kind of showing is when you think of dark sky or you think of this issue around the world, and y'all feel free to chime in on this too. There's generally a way that people think about how much light there is in an area. So where we are, we're not on the farthest end, and we're, I would say, in that second category there. And what's interesting is when we think about it as a town, trying to figure out what do we actually do in terms of a long-term discussion about this, like how do we actually do something that does address an issue. Some of it has to do with encouraging people to turn lights off at certain times. Some of it has to do with the strength of lighting. Some of it has to do with the concentration of just humanity, so to speak. And when we also have the ability to see, as an astronomer, I learned this myself in the last couple of years, we have actually pretty decent night vision. You can see when we ourselves get outside and spend time in the darkness. After about 15 or 20 minutes, you have much better vision. It takes a couple hours to get really good vision from it. But that being said, what they're also talking about is the animals and also insects. And there's also a lot of things that are impacted by it. So on the one hand, I think it's a good idea that we have a short version of it here that I suggest that we do, and thank you for what they've done. But I think it does leave an opportunity for us to have a much bigger conversation. And some of it is also in my own self. I've had this discovery. I didn't realize the stars, so to speak. Now I can name 50 different stars, and that sounds great, but there's thousands and billions and trillions of stars out there. So I simply say to you, I thank you all for bringing this to us. I think it's a step of us to do this, but it's a bigger step of us to figure out, like, what would we really do as a town to try to encourage this? And some of it is also to celebrate it. We actually are on that lower end over there. We really do have better night sky here than most places in the county. And I think y'all make a good point of that. And that's something we should celebrate. It might be something we want to invite some astronomers to come here, and we want to have some programs that we do in the town to highlight some of these things. And I will just say, so my own awakening of the last couple of years has made me realize the other thing that's happening is you see the satellites up there. There's more and more satellites, or you see satellite trains, or you see, you might say, the pollution of the sky just by the way that we use it. All that to say, it really is a topic that we should talk about more in the future as we grow as an area. And we also celebrate what we are. We really do have this farther end. And as I've learned, and like I said, when I've been in larger cities, you just cannot see the stars. They're just not there. But where we are, we've got a pretty good place. I'm sorry. So having said that, would you all like to add anything?
I just wanna, just looking at the language in your ordinance, I know you're talking about like revisiting the ordinance, but I think that there probably is room for strengthening
I
your
agree.
lighting ordinance, and just as a recommendation to be able to preserve and to capitalize. I agree. I think that we're seeing many of the breweries and wineries that are having stargazing nights. And just at Cunningham Winery, just around the corner, they're having a speaker on Thursday talking about dark sky. So I think that there is something to that. Blenheim Winery, they had advertised, they had 75 people, they had to cut it off within like a couple days for a night viewing event that they had. So I think there are opportunities.
The real tourism opportunity.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be close to try to plan something for Dark Sky Week this year,
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean it has to be in
right.
Dark Sky Week.
Sure. That's
I would love to
I think
do
the
something
fall-
in Dark Sky Week just to kind of promote why we're doing it.
Scan and use.
Scanlan. And you're an astronomer, would you ever be interested in coming and doing a night talk?
Well, and during, it just so happens.
I'd have
that
these
during
things-
Dark Sky Week this year, there's the big eclipse.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
That's right.
you have, do
There's a lot
you have
going
all
on,
these folks'
you know,
emails?
But the thing is that fundamentally, you are accepting what we've said. I mean, there's some horror story that most people in inner cities can't see the Milky Way.
I know.
I mean, you know,
I grew up
I
in the
mean,
Bronx, it's not,
Yeah.
it's true, it is not.
it really is disappearing, and there are ways to do it. And Dark Sky International has a code they put on lighting, which enables, all you have to do is to say, if you put new lighting here, use their certified equipment. And that just wonderfully helps. Will it solve the problem? No, it's got to be done everywhere, and that's much more difficult, but every step counts.
You know, one of the things that was mentioned about our ordinance, it really just covers for parking lots and commercial areas, and I think we could tighten our ordinance to look at residents. I don't know how that would work, but you know, there are some residences that are out of compliance with that.
Yeah.
You know, not just businesses, but residences are sometimes can be very bright.
Well, the one thing I would say, just from my perspective, is as much as you might say an advocate, I would advocate voluntary compliance. I'm not interested in creating something that's restrictive that rule. I'm very much interested. I mean, I'm just saying this to the fellow town councilors. So, but I do think once you start to realize what we have, again, because we're down, we really can see. I mean, I used to see dots in the sky. Now I know I'm looking at Deneb, or I'm looking at different, the different stars you can see. It's amazing. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, if you really want to, wow, just go out with binoculars tonight. Go out there and look south, you will see Orion. And if you go up there, you can see, it's spectacular view, and it's there all the time.
I know.
And I do this, I have a monitoring station at my house. I live just along the river of Savannah, but it's gorgeous. I mean,
Well,
it
the
really is.
proclamation is the gateway drug to the
Right.
stars. So start with that.
But it also.
We will be at the Pollinator Festival because there are many nighttime pollinators. So
Yeah,
Excellent.
and so also I think we can send you some samples, like ordinances, when we talk about like light trespass, there's some parts of the, when we talk about individuals, we don't want their light trespassing into somebody else's living room or bedroom. So that's one way of like saying, it's okay, you can have your lights, but they can't be going into somebody else's.
What
The
is
night
the
is-
date of the eclipse? Do you
Pardon?
know offhand?
the eighth,
Yeah.
Oh, that works out well. As far away as possible in that week.
Yeah, no, it's right it's right during that one.
I have my own star, it's in Orion, and some Christmases ago, my wife got me my own star for Christmas, and this big frame map of Orion and all the stars around it, my little tiny star, it's just over there, and I have another certificate, so where exactly my star lies.
I got one too.
You got one too?
Mhm. Yeah, 22 years ago.
Well, we don't want to take up any of your time. It's important town business to take care of. But we do hope you'll
thank you.
support
Thank
this
you.
proclamation and then the ordinance and then beyond.
Okay, great.
I see.
Now I know the hard work that goes into making it successful, great.
And my wife,
But we need to, work on this proclamation or tonight.
I think the shortened one is.
Well, I think reference the other one too, though, at least.
Well, let's put on.
Oh, you're not, oh, I thought.
I'm
you
talking
were-
about the.
Oh, I thought you were talking about.
Let's
I thought you were
say,
talking about-
vote on this
I
next
thought you were
week.
talking about-
Part of the
and then we
reason
can
I
take it
was-
Next work
Yeah.
session.
Part of the reason I was trying to make it simple and we were trying to make it simple is. Honestly, I couldn't do this. I could
No.
not do this. There's too many things in here.
Yeah.
But I can say I support that. In other words, the concept of a dark sky, yes, but in terms of all the different points in there. So again, we're just saying we as a town support there.
Mhm.
And feel free if y'all wanted, this was just me throwing something to Javier and Javier did something, but if you want to change it some, that's totally fine. It just was trying to be simple. We support it. We support it.
The only change I would make after reading it is I'm a little, and I go to church every Sunday, I'm very encouraged, but say the beauty that God has given us.
Sure, take that out.
You know,
Take-
put
take-
creator or something like
Or
that.
it-
You're gonna have
it's
somebody.
fine.
Natural.
I agree with that, yeah.
Right, you can have somebody
Yeah, that might
affected
be-
that.
You put it in however you want to put it.
Yeah, it's.
I put it in what I like, but you put it in whatever you want.
But I think we ought to reference,
Where'd you
the
pick
fact
that
that
last
it's,
one?
international dark sky and
Oh,
that
I'll do that.
governing ocean, it might be good to have at least a reference to it.
Sorry.
If y'all want to add a sentence or two, yep, go for it. This was just, I was just trying to make it simple. That's totally
You
fine.
you could stick in before the word as a recognition of that,
Yeah.
international dark sky
Week, right?
week. And whereas the night sky, you know.
All right.
We'll come up with the edited version for next week, if that's all right. Okay, what's next, administrative?
Beyond that, I just have my other items, which include, first one is establishing dates and times. For meetings.
Keep them.
Yeah, can we? just
Can we,
go ahead
can we
and
just,
keep
can we just keep them?
Get this off the books?
Sounds good to me.
Cause we're stuck on 7 to
Yeah.
get everybody here
Yeah.
and we're already used to this good.
That's it. It's too complicated, but it's.
do we, I think we've got it in our, ordinances or rules that if there's a holiday, it moves on,
Tuesday.
you know,
Yeah,
We'll
we
make,
adopted that last year.
you know.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing, but
so, this policy for the proposed policy on resignations.
There's an update that I,
Councilman Gritsko.
yeah, this is an update that
I like what you
you get
put in.
that?
That kind of two possibilities there.
Yeah,
I like that.
I think that covers most every situation, doesn't it?
Yeah, the county government services shared out, how they were discussing last time, and then everybody make sure they have the.
A little update to it.
Yeah, what I was trying to say, just so I say this, is I think if we just, to make it super simple, if somebody, so when a board member resigns, they will inform the chair of the committee how they want to resign. They can either do it immediately, I'm resigning immediately, blah, 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 or at a specific date. And the reason I say the specific date again is
They might
sometimes.
be moving.
That's right. They just say, September 1st, I'm gonna be gone. And so that means they're on the committee till then, and then it's once it's clarified. So I just put, and again, it's fine if y'all want to edit this, once it's clarified, the information received from the person who signed will be given to the council, mayor, administrator. It will be accepted at the next town council meeting. And then I actually put on here with the resignation, a letter thanking the person for their service. And then the other one is just review with them and exit interview, just kind of like, those are just, again, if you all want to edit that, that's totally fine. I'm just trying to make it simple.
Okay.
And I thought were we gonna strike the verbal and just require that everyone be done in writing?
I think so. I think.
Yeah, I
didn't
think
want to
so.
write.
Want to do
yeah.
writing.
So the verbal's still in here though.
Did you get this one?
No, this is, okay, that we're going on to. I'm just looking at
We're using both. I
trying
think.
to meld these two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? So I think if we take what Dan has given, and I agree, I think those two are very reasonable. And put them in the shortened version, taking out the verbal.
Well, you know, the way that Zach did it was probably the best. He stated his reason. He said, I'm resigning, and then he handed in his
Yeah,
piece of paper.
right.
So
And we
You
could
can-
require
you
that
can
piece of paper.
indicate that you have a desire to resign, and here's one.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah,
Yeah, writing is good, I think.
All right, can you get us a melded copy to vote on next week?
Would somebody on council be willing just to have a discussion?
Why don't you just get a draft and then send it out as an email to everybody?
Well, like on the first one, was the second one, it says when a board of commission member chooses to resign, they will inform the chair how, how they would like to resign. And maybe we can add something at the end, say all resignations need to be in writing, have to be in writing.
Why don't you do this also, just so here's my suggestion. You guys do an edit, run it by Bill, because this has kind of been his thing.
No, it's government services.
No, but I mean, just make sure
Yeah.
you like it, or if you,
Yeah.
if so,
for government services.
well, and then.
I should pass it on to them.
Yeah, just an email saying, what do you guys think?
Send it to government services, and then we will have a copy of it too, and then we can funnel our thoughts to government services.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the whole gist of it was to make it streamline it, to get it going, so we don't have to wait months to get the, approval and get it going, get another person.
All right. Any more on that? Then let's get on this appropriations thing.
Well, if we're gonna have a budget meeting,
Yeah,
we
let's-
just roll this into the budget
Yeah.
meeting.
I'd like to know about appropriations. If we had appropriations last year, right? Maybe we could get what we did for appropriations last year. And the other question I have is, what if we don't use the appropriations? Is it just going to the general funds? So, I mean, the whole idea of appropriations is like a special condition that we might want to use, and we start that at the beginning.
No, that's part of the problem.
It's a required to have appropriations for a budget, like,
Right.
it's afforded,
Okay,
making
but
sure we're running.
so you could get appropriations for anything though, right? I mean. we don't have to-
Anything over 1,000, I thought.
What I'm
was
saying,
like-
For everything.
for any category, so in other words, can we get appropriations for police or appropriations for streets? So maybe,
The
but I mean-
budget is a figure
Right.
that we have, the appropriation is at the time when you want to spend them.
right, okay, okay,
So whatever we budgeted,
right,
right, there are some caveats on how that's distributed. In
right.
certain cases, in other cases, it's pretty straightforward.
I guess my concern is like, we're doing this in June and we're saying we're gonna need some appropriations for something in, May. How do we know what we want then to appropriate and because things change, so do we even need appropriations? That's what I'm saying. Why can't we just, I would just say, why can't we just, anything we want, just come to the town council, and say, hey, we got
Because
this.
that would be chaos.
Right.
And you would be able to get an auditor to come in and deal with
Right.
it.
Oh, okay.
You would end up being a parish.
Okay, so you really need to know, so you really need to know what you're appropriating for, just to make sure you're gonna use it.
Well, that's what the budget is for, right?
Right.
The budget,
This
you,
is already listed in the budget,
Yeah.
and so we're gonna say, okay, we put it in the budget last year, getting towards the end of the year, do we still want to spend it on that?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll appropriate it for
It's
that.
just a relief.
Okay,
It's just,
okay.
it's just giving the permission.
It is an authorization.
Right.
Oh, okay, it's what?
Authorization.
Authorization.
So
Okay.
basically, when they all got angry at the signs for Canal Basin Square,
All right.
the argument was, well, it was in the budget. But we never appropriated it.
Well, and it was over budget. As it turns out, that what was appropriated
Yeah.
was much more than what was budgeted,
Well, okay,
and that was the problem.
one of the things that's, I wrote Avi about this, and I'd like to bring this up, is the community development. I would like us to consider just honoring and giving, the volunteer an honorarium rather than to give him maybe you chip in, I'll chip in, and maybe you can, because it was your idea, Javier, he's your assistant, but I think it's a gray area to give a volunteer money, town money, where I know he needs recognition, and I think that's a great idea, but with volunteers.
Well, we're not giving him money, we're giving his organization
Yeah, but
money.
I
That's
think it's
different.
working
Well,
around.
it's for a specific purpose.
I think it's a-
GIS.
Yeah, I think it's a workaround. I think I'd rather just give him an honorarium and give him some status and give him a little bit of a pat on the back rather than to do a volunteer. There's so many volunteers who do a lot of things around here.
But this is beyond volunteerism. He's done direct work for the town, a lot of.
Well, I know he has. I
And
know.
he uses a service, and this is
Yeah.
paying for the service that he uses, so this
But is it,
isn't really a
yeah, but
bonus,
since,
it's not going in his pocket.
I know, but I think, is it gonna be a town, is it gonna be on our website? I mean, is it gonna be a service that the town owns, or does he own it? The service, the GIS and all that, it's just, I have problem with giving volunteer compensation. That's,
Or a nonprofit,
what?
or a
Or a nonprofit too,
nonprofit.
but
I mean, we're not a philanthropic
I just-
organization, we
I have
are
a
a
problem with The
government.
whole community service thing.
And I have,
Aren't you
in the
supposed-
past year, I voted against donating to the
Yeah.
fire department fireworks.
Yeah,
I voted against the Boys and Girls Club. We just, some
I just don't
things,
think that's
little
right.
things add up, and
Yes, it
the
is.
thing is, you set a precedent, and then another little nonprofit comes, another one, and
Yeah.
another one. And the next thing you know,
give it to the fire department, they're gonna do that.
well, that's exactly right, but I'm just saying, that's
Yeah.
how I feel.
And Eileen, isn't it where you're referring to a reimbursement mostly? Is that not what you're saying?
That's what I look at it,
See, but.
right, it's for a service rendered, it's more like a contractor type
The
of
thing,
thing.
yeah, the thing is, so I
The
know,
labor is been volunteered, but there is a hard
I know.
component of that the town takes advantage of.
What is it for exactly?
It's a GIS service that
So-
he uses to create maps and spreadsheets and all of that stuff, and he works with Javier and he works with the chief and he
For the ARB?
does the maps for events and everything else. I don't think all that money should have to come out.
His organization is footing the bill for all
So
of
I'll
that.
say this.
And we keep asking him, can you do this? And can you do this? And can you do
I'll say
this?
this.
And by the way, can you do it for free even though your organization is paying for it?
I
It's-
tend to agree that it can set a bad precedent, but I will say, on the other side of that coin, the ARB is using a GIS program for our inventory this year that Jack did. Set up completely, so maybe if we're gonna do it, I want the town to have access to it. To use the program, I don't know if we already do.
We don't have, I don't know that we have anyone who has an interest or is qualified to use it, so.
Both of those.
I mean, it's nice to have somebody who's actually doing it for us, because
well, the thing is with, I know Jack, I mean, and he's keeping track of times and hours and things like, I don't think he understands the difference between volunteerism and work. I think he sees himself as a town employee, and I just have a problem with him,
He knows he's not getting.
with
paid. I don't
volunteer,
think-
with volunteers, you give him a T-shirt.
nonprofit, that's
Oh,
part of,
but it's not part of his pay.
No,
he's not paid.
Yeah.
Well,
That's why I said
Well,
the labor for all of this.
yeah, I know,
It's
but I,
the service that he uses,
I know,
the
but,
software that he uses.
But
Well,
we have-
again, like you said, that's why we vote.
well, we have somebody on our Parks Committee who has GIS and has done a real incredible map and hasn't asked for a dime. And look at the mayor, how much, the mayor never gets a dime, you know, I just think volunteers
I
should not
think
get.
we should double his salary.
I agree.
I just think that's, it's pleasant. And I know he's a nice guy and he's special.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Mayor, are you able to bang the table?
Yeah, I think let's continue this one,
Okay, I'll come up with my rationale,
thank you, everybody.
get out at the meeting.
Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah, having late dinner, buddy.
Yeah.
Meredith, you smoking around with me.
Smoking it
Aye, in that order.
in that order.
Get out.
Or if you're in a rush, ride and smoke it. I can wait. I mean, it's not a long trip. I can wait till I get home if you're.